All right. Hello. Good evening. Welcome to the ONG Strike Zone right here on the Black College Sports Network. Brian Fulford, Kelvin Rozier, guest co-host today, AD Drew, and soon to be joining us, Marcus Green. Good evening, fellas. I'll start with you, AD. How are you doing this evening?
Had an adventure today, man. I was telling you about it earlier. I didn't have a chance to tell Kelvin because I didn't know if he had power or not, and I didn't want to burn up his cell phone with a phone call if he didn't have power yet. But I was riding home, and I'm riding, and slow down, have to come to a stop on a U.S. highway, 4-lane U.S. highway with a grass median, because there's a bunch of debris on the ground. And I'm looking. And then I see a kid crawling out the car. And then it clicks on me like, oh, beep, that car upside down. Those are the wheels that I'm looking up that's pointing up to the sky. The car had flipped and crossed the median and landed against the guardrail. So myself and a couple other people, we stopped and helped the people out and, stayed there to the sheriff and the EMS and fire truck and everything arrived, and they walked away from the incident with some cuts and bumps and bruises. I mean, it could have been a hell of a lot worse. The only thing I remember saying to somebody was, "Hey, I think we need to back up from that car. I see smoke coming from out of there. I don't know if that's just because of how fast the car was going or if that means anything, but we need to back up because I don't want that gas tank to poof."
Gotcha. Well, the AD Drew out there saving lives on a Wednesday afternoon, man. Great timing.
More like keeping people calm. More like keeping people calm and everything. When that adrenaline stopped flowing, that person probably went into shock. It was a mother and 2 kids, African American, just happened to be African American. Wouldn't have mattered when I stopped, but they just happened to be African American. And ironically, they still had the chip tags on the car, so I'm hoping they didn't just buy their car and flip it.
Ooh, yeah, Jesus. Well, salute to you, Drew, for saving lives and making a difference. Kelvin Rozier,
we need a hero in the dance.
Exactly. We might need you to come to Tallahassee, Drew. Might need a hero in Tallahassee. Kelvin Rozier.
Hey, I'm gonna be down there and catch some baseball this weekend.
Hey, if you come to Tallahassee, bring a goddamn belt.
There it is, right there.
Lord,
yes, sir.
Kelvin, obviously in Tallahassee, you've been dealing with a lot over the last few days. How are you doing, my brother?
Man, I'm surviving, man. Been without power since Friday when the tornadoes hit. Just got power back today at lunchtime. So
wow.
Full 5 days of no power. So, been making the best of it. And then some of the things that are happening in the news here have been disappointing. Been very disappointing. But predictable, and I well, at appropriate time we'll go more into the detail about that part of it. But Tallahassee got hit really hard with these 3 tornadoes, a lot of damage. There's people still without power, a lot of trees down everywhere, homes. So it's going to take some time to recover, but we rattler, so we built for it.
Hey Kelvin. Did the family get closer together over these 4
yes,
or 5 days without any power? Because that's usually what happens. Either y'all get closer together, or y'all can't stand each other. Which one was it this time?
It was neither, because there was a lot of things going on, moving parts, so to speak, right? So
Right.
some of the times the daughter was at the house. Some of the times the wife running around volunteering and doing some stuff, and then of course classes was getting started, so she had to find a place with some power to get some of those adjustments made from going from in-person classes to online classes. And then of course sometimes you just need to go get a drink. But everything that's been going on in Tallahassee, a couple of those times I just needed to go get a drink, find a watering hole. So
A drink or a drink?
a drink.
With a DRA.
Hey,
That's right.
yeah.
That's right.
Marcus, how you doing this evening, man? Good to see you catching in, sliding in. Eddie Kane, the third. Good to see you.
Good to see y'all. Kelvin, glad you're making out okay. I know it's rough, 5 days without power, but I know you persevered. I'm doing all right. Doing okay up here.
All right. Well, again, first off, definitely all of our thoughts and prayers have really been with everyone in the Tallahassee area since this weekend. Trust me, I have been on that side of being without power for multiple days, and it is not pretty. So hopefully, we've seen the damage in various videos, and it's going to be a big time cleanup around the city and in the Panhandle, really, in that Big Bend area, because it's not just Leon County, Tallahassee that's been affected, but a lot of the surrounding counties. I know Drew and I talked about even on Sunday how there were parts of southern Alabama that was also affected. So our thoughts with everybody, and hopefully, as Kelvin has gotten power back, hopefully so has a lot of other people around the city and surrounding counties.
Hey, Kelvin, you want to? We were talking about that right before we came on the air. Elvin asked a question that you had discussed with us before we came on the air. You want to talk about that? How rare
Yes.
the tornadoes are in Tallahassee?
Yeah, so there's only been like 8 recorded tornadoes in Tallahassee since like the last 200 years. And we got 3 at the same time on the same day. So 8 in 200 years, 3 in one day. Yeah, I think that's classified as pretty rare.
Yeah. About as rare as $237 million in stocks. That's how rare. I'm sorry. I had to get that in. I'm sorry. I
Monopoly money. Monopoly money.
I didn't mean to start that way. I'm sorry.
I didn't even know Monopoly had stock.
They do. Don't you remember that part of the game? That was part of the game.
That's the part you don't never pay attention to.
That's
you
all right.
Got it.
That's when the game goes to overtime. And like, oh, yeah.
I'm back, y'all. I'm sorry.
Yeah. All right. So, hey, I want to say hello to everybody watching us on Facebook and YouTube. First thing we'd like for all of you to do is go and hit the thumbs up button if you're watching us on YouTube. They're on the Jericho Broadcast Network's YouTube page, or you're watching us on our ONG StrikeZone YouTube page. If you're on Facebook, Black College Sports Network, or the ONG StrikeZone, go ahead and hit that like button there. We say hello to everybody watching us on X. You can be a X and Instagram Live. I don't know how long the Instagram Live is going to hold up. It's been real shaky. So any of you folks watching us on Instagram Live, come on in and check us out on YouTube. That's where the good chat and conversations are. And so we'll do that. Coming up later in the show, we got Coach Camise Patterson. Softball coach is going to come in at the bottom of hour 1. Man, what a great SWAC softball tournament for our team. It didn't end the way we wanted it to. I mean, when we were here a week ago, we were on cloud 9 after games 1 and 2. Yes, we were that close as we, we had to come out of the elimination bracket after losing. I guess you could call it the.
It was the winners bracket final.
The winners bracket final. We lost to Jackson State, and then so we had to come out of the other side, the elimination side, which ironically there were the final 4 teams left playing were all from the Eastern Division. Us, Jackson State, Alabama State, and Bethune-Cookman. That was the final 4. So we were all there, and we ended up beating Alabama State. Great pitching performance by Samantha Smith, a shutout. We beat them 8-0 in 5 innings, and it set up a championship game rematch against Jackson State. And had we won, we would have played them in the final if game on Saturday. But unfortunately, 3-1 was the final score. Just couldn't get the bats going. Zoriana Hughes, it seemed like Jackson State had kind of figured her out. They kind of roughed her up a little bit in the first meeting, and then they got some runs off of her in the second meeting, and it just wasn't the young freshman's day. But she had a great performance. I mean, I thought our pitching did well. What was your analysis and review of the what we saw, Kelvin?
I like you. I thought that they laid it on the line and they just came up short. If you kind of look at this season, when we started out, we had pretty much a new team. Coach was going into her second year. She had young new assistants. So you didn't really know what to expect. And then we got off to a little shaky start, playing top-notch competition, of course. And then, we just continue to get better, grow, become better as a team. And we found out who our players were, our number 1 pitchers, and we kept racking up the all SWAC awards all during the season. Mm-hmm. And by the time we got to the end of the season, man, lo and behold, we SWAC East champs. Remember that. We still champs now.
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
Regular season. And, we got to the tournament. Coach got off to a good start, 2-0. And then, we just for whatever reason, we just couldn't get it going against Jackson State, those 2 games. But I'm very proud of the team. I'm proud of Coach. I think we got a pitcher of the year, if I'm not mistaken, for the SWAC. Yep. And as far as I'm concerned, we got the coach of the year for the SWAC. So, we've got a lot to be proud of and a lot to look forward to next season.
Yep. Marcus, your thoughts?
Well, I thought it was a great run. Just came up a little short. I mean, it reminded me a lot, and I'm a big Atlanta Braves fan, been a Braves fan for 30, 35 years. And playoffs are a different animal. And that's what it reminded me of. The first game, we basically had the co-freshmen and co-pitchers of the year going head-to-head. And then after that, we played Texas Southern. It was our first time, I believe, that we had any foray into the SWAC West. I think we played all SWAC East conference schedule during the regular season. So you're going to expect tight games. And I saw, commentary afterwards that were like, well, why didn't we do this? Why didn't we do that? Why did we blow them out, the bats and all this? You got your top pitchers getting the bulk, and they're going to get the starts because that's who's going to carry you through. And I guess they're young and they're just going to ride them as much as they can. So that's what we tried to do. And I think Alabama State as well, their number 1 pitcher, number 2 pitcher. And we just ran up against a good Jackson State team, not to take anything away from them. And they've been in contention all year and just couldn't get the bats going against their top 2 pitchers in the 2 games that counted most. And it's a learning experience. We have 6, 7 freshmen. I think we'll lose 4 or 5 seniors, but hopefully we'll continue to build the team, and this taste of success for those who are coming back next year will only fuel the fire for next year.
Mm-hmm. Drew, what would you like to add in there?
Well, outside of FAMU, I want to just talk about the SWAC softball tournament in general. Very competitive. I believe FAMU may have had the only one rule in the SWAC softball tournament, and that was against who did we play before Jackson State? Was that Alabama State?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that was the only game in the entire 14-game tournament that was a run rule. And when you look at the competition in the tournament, every game that I watched, and I watched a majority of them, it seemed like in the last inning, the team that was trailing had the tying or game-winning run at least on deck. When you are at that point, that means you have competitive softball where nobody wants to go to the bathroom, nobody wants to go get a hot dog, everybody wants to stay there. And as a fan, that's what you want. You don't want to see teams run ruling everybody in the doggone not in the tournament. Not in tournament. I want to see how good these coaches can coach. You know, how good these pitchers can pitch, who can hit under pressure. That's what you want to see as a fan of the sport, baseball, softball. But
I want to see FAMU win 8-0 against everybody. I don't speak for yourself.
Leave it to Kelvin to go ahead and just shoot down my analogy, man. But you know, just as a fan of SWAC softball, I was very impressed with overall. It was just unfortunate that FAMU came up on the short side and could not get the timely hits. But like I said, even in the 7th inning of that championship game, we still were in the ball game and had a chance. So what more can you ask for?
Yeah,
man, that was really when Kayla was it Alexander? I'm not sure who hit that 3-run homer. We were down 5-1 or 4-1. I'm sorry, we were down 4-0. We hit the 3-run homer in the bottom of the 6th. I was like, oh, here we come. And you know, they got an insurance run and we just couldn't get over it. When we hit that home run, I was like, But you got to give credit. They rolled out, Jackson State rolled out their number 1 and number 2 pitchers, and they looked good. They looked rested based on the rotation, and you know.
So just to kind of, and again, all great things. I know when we get a chance to talk to Coach P at the bottom of the hour, we get the chance to kind of, so many different things happened in that series. Even prior to that finals, there was a report about one of our players potentially, or that had a medical issue, and it was sort of implied that might have messed with our mental game in that first meeting against Jackson State. There was even a controversial play, I believe, in the championship final game. We'll talk pitching performances of Zoriana Hughes, Samantha Smith. How long is too long? I mean, Coach P told us before the tournament she was going to ride Zoriana until her arm fell off. So we're going to find out how is Zoriana's arm still on the shoulder. We're going to find but I thought overall just good stuff. Again, Coach Patterson, Coach of the Year in the SWAC. Zoriana Hughes was the co-rookie of the year, along with the young lady from UAPB. That was a pitcher duel. First game, UAPB versus FAMU. Both pitchers retired at least 15 batters in a row at one point. That was the game in which we had sort of like the suicide squeeze to win. Mia Blasingame.
I don't think anybody got a hit on either team from the 2nd inning until the 7th inning, if I remember that correctly.
Right. Yeah, you're right. And so
I'm just hoping the young lady from Arkansas Pine Bluff, I don't want to be accused of what's they call tampering. But
come on down, South.
On degree.
Well, but UAP, I just saw
there's only the 3 tornadoes were 1 in a 200-year occurrence, so you don't have any worries about that. I'm just saying.
Well, no, I saw somebody say that UAPB has like 9 freshmen in that.
They did.
That is a young squad.
A really young squad. And they mentioned that in the broadcast too.
Okay, yeah.
So they acquitted themselves very well for being that young and having, I don't know how often they've been in the tournament. I don't think they were in the last couple of
Like
years.
they have been since pre-pandemic. I want to say like 18 or so, and
Okay.
19 maybe. Last time they made the tournament.
Yeah. And Zoriana Hughes was the pitcher of the year. That's like number one, the ace, which we kind of told y'all. I'll tell you what. We will have a very interesting discussion for female athlete of the year, because that is going to be an interesting race. You know, when we put up the 4 to 5 names, that will be an interesting award. The ONG Awards will be back again for year number 2. So our female player athlete of the year, that's going to be an interesting battle. All tournament team from the SWAC tournament, you had Nia Morgan make the all tournament team. Mia Blasingame made the all tournament team, and Zoriana Hughes made the all tournament team. All deserving. Nia, Mia, great plays with the bat, and of course Zoriana with her pitching performance, especially in the first 2 games, was outstanding. So all worthy of being all tournament. So again, Coach Patterson coming up at the bottom of the hour. Looking forward to talking with her. When we get into hour 2, Vaughn Wilson will come on, and we'll get into talking about the latest and the hot topic regarding FAMU, not just FAMU Athletics. Vaughn, I know everybody's buzzing about the Board of Trustees meeting from earlier, so we'll get into talking about that. But Vaughn's got some thoughts to share with us there, and we'll get into some other stuff here as well. I want to can we take a second to mention baseball while we got a second? Let me see. Hold on. I got my go ahead and break down what we had this weekend while I pull up the graphic here, Kelvin.
We played Alabama State up there. Lost a heartbreaker Friday night, man, down to the last out, 2 outs. We up 5-3. They get 2 runners on base. And I can't remember if it was 1 or 2 strikes on the batter, but we got one a little too good across the plate. The batter hit it out. Alabama State won 6-5 on a walk-off fashion with a home run down on the last out. So we lost our first game. But the resilient Rattlers we are, we came back Saturday. And we jumped out to a big lead. We gave up a couple of runs late. We scored a couple of runs, about 3 runs, if I remember correctly, around that 7th or 8th inning. And then they scored like 2 maybe, and then 1 in the 9th. But we held on and won like 7-5 that Saturday game. And those 2 games were both at 7 p.m. Their time, Central Time, if I'm not mistaken. And then, of course, Sunday we came back and we kind of put a good whooping on them, So we came just short of a sweep. It should have been a sweep, but we came just short of a sweep. And those kittens from somewhere in the state,
on the beach,
they were trying to stay close to us, but they're still a game and a half behind us now. And they play Alabama State at the beach this weekend while we host Valley. So we got a game and a half lead. They got to play 4 if necessary. I don't know who they makeup game is against, though. I can't remember. But
they won't be making it up. I think the significance is they did not get Sunday's game in against Jackson State, which is where that big half game is now to give FAMU some cushion. Mm-hmm. So them not getting that game, I think it got postponed in the 4th inning, called in the 4th inning there in Jackson. So and obviously we know it has to go 5 for it to count. So
right,
that's going to be huge.
Yeah, and the weather is going to be hit and miss here in Tallahassee. So that's the only thing that could be interesting. The baseball field did suffer some fence damage. And I think it was right field. But I saw that they had, kind of put things back in place. So we will be playing at our stadium starting on Thursday. It's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, Sam, this week.
Yeah.
So
although there were alternatives available.
Absolutely. AD did reach out and his university was made offer just in case we needed it so that we'll get the series in. And so hopefully we'll get these Thursday we'll get the game in and win that one, and then I don't think it really matters after that.
And just so people are aware, in the SWAC, you only have to play what is it? Is 80%?
24. Yeah, 80%, which is 24. So 24 a win and a loss gives us the East crown.
Right. So that's why if you look at the standings, and there are some interesting races for seeding happening not only in the East but also in the West. But again, the minimum number of games is 24. So once you get to 24, it'll kind of be stuck. So again, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, that's the last 3 days for everybody. So, there might even be some weather happening in the Texas area. It'll be interesting to see what happens and how that affects the seeding going in the tournament. The bracket was released. I saw the other day. Now, one of the things that is a little bit different is the baseball bracket is a little bit different than the softball bracket. And Drew, you kind of clarified and explained that a little bit on Sunday's show. Just quickly, if you can, just explain the breakdown here. I'm going to flash up the A bracket and the B bracket of the baseball tournament.
Yeah. The softball tournament is a straight 8-team double elimination tournament where essentially all 8 teams are in together. The baseball bracket is 2 4-team double elimination tournaments, an A bracket and a B bracket where the teams don't cross over. And with that, then it goes into a winner take all, bracket A winner versus bracket B winner for a winner take all on that Sunday. That's why there's always been there. Why don't they have to play the if game? Because of how the bracket is formatted. It's really 2 4-team brackets with the championship game. So any if games take place within your bracket, either bracket A or bracket B. Whereas softball, everything's in there together.
And so if you look at the graphic there, bracket B, you see the number 1 seed in the East. That would be FAMU with 1 win. I believe, what'd you say, 1 win and or 1 loss?
The magic number, FAMU's magic number is 2. So they win 2, they're good, or win and a loss equates to that too.
Yeah. Right. So you would see Wednesday, May 22nd, FAMU's first game would be at 6 p.m. The games will again be in Atlanta at Georgia Tech Stadium. I think it's like Chandler Stadium, something like that. Yes. FAMU wins that game in game 1. They would play Thursday night, same time, 6 p.m. against the winner of the 2 from the West or the 3 from the East. And then, another win would put them. So essentially, FAMU could be playing 3 games all in the evening at 6 p.m. Of course, it gets interesting should you lose. Then, as you can see in the bracket, that's when you may have to play some 2 games in a day. But we've been there, and we've had to overcome that. So interesting. We'll talk to Coach P here in a second, and we'll kind of find out if she has a preference. Would she like to see softball move into a similar style playoff tournament, similar to what baseball does, or is she pleased with sort of the current format? So we'll ask Coach that on the other side. Any questions that you have, go ahead and put them in the chats, and we'll talk to our East Division Championship and Coach of the Year, Coach Patterson, on the other side. You're watching the ONG Strike Zone right here on the Black College Sports Network. We'll be back in just a moment.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
As technology continues to bring changes to the world of education, it's time we also reimagine teacher professional development. Gone are the days of one-size-fits-all learning that can only be accessed at a specific time and place. The Stride PD Center is an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that allow educators to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. The best professional development plans are those that include a level of flexibility and choice for educators. Whether you're a teacher, school, or district, visit us today to take charge of your learning.
All right, welcome back to the ONG Strike Zone. Bryan, Marcus, Kelvin, AD, Drew, and it's a pleasure to be joined right now by the SWAC Softball Coach of the Year and the coach of our East Division. SWAC Division champs, Coach P. Coach, how you doing, Coach? Good to see you this evening.
Oh, I'm wonderful. How are y'all doing?
Yeah.
Doing good,
Coach P. We're not gonna call it Coach P anymore. We just gonna call it Cody. Coach of the year.
Oh,
Cody,
I got you.
COTY. Coach of the year.
I got you. Okay, see,
Coach Cody.
Drew. Okay.
I'm glad you brought that together.
I am too. I was like, who? What? Well, Coach. Yeah, I know if you had a chance to kind of listen to us at the end of the last segment, we were talking about the difference in the softball format versus the baseball format. Would you care to, before we get going, maybe comment on your thoughts on do you like the current format of the softball tournament, or would you prefer more of the format that we see in baseball?
I want to look at the baseball format a little bit more to kind of see exactly what they do. But I mean, our format is okay. It's okay. But honestly, I would like to see us move more towards what the MEAC does. Their 1 and 2 seeds get a bye that first day. And then if you're that undefeated team going into the championship game, you also get a bye the day before the championship game. So they play their championship game on a Saturday. So you had that Friday off to rest, recover, recuperate, get your number 1 pitcher back in good standing. And then you go into the championship game fresh. For us, we went in as a 1 seed, so we did have to play the number 4 seed on the west side, which their pitcher was also co-freshman of the year with our pitcher. So we had a hard road to get to the championship game. We ended up losing to Jackson State. And even Jackson State, like when they played that championship game, they didn't have any rest. We didn't have any rest, but they didn't have any rest. So I would like to see our format change a little bit to kind of benefit those higher seeds a little bit more.
I agree. Yep. I agree. Kelvin, go ahead.
So, Coach, talk about the performance from game 1 to the last game of the tournament. What's your thoughts? Is there anything you would do different? Just overall, what you thought about what happened out there in Mississippi?
I mean, I think as a coach, there's always plays that you're going to want to go back and do something differently. A couple plays come to mind, but overall, I think that we really showed how we play as a team. We showed off our speed. We showed off our pitchers, not just Zoe, but also Sam, with her getting that Newcomer of the Year award. So congrats to her. But yeah, I mean, that first game, I'm not gonna lie, like that first game, it was close, it was tight. Like anybody who's watching, like, I don't know if y'all saw me sweating, I had to play it cool on TV, but it was a tight game and we kind of knew it. That girl, that wonderful pitcher, she's also a freshman. I think she had 178 strikeouts coming into that game. So we knew that she was doing something that worked, and that's not just in conference, but out of conference as well. So we knew that we were going to have to kind of scratch and claw a couple runs across the board, which is what we did. And then that second game against Texas Southern, we just knew that we had to come out with the bats. I don't think that we hit as well the whole week as we've been known to hit this whole year. The bats really came alive in that do or die game against Alabama State. But looking at how many hits we had against Jackson State, both games we played, it was kind of uncharacteristic. We had some things outside of the field that were happening, like every team does, when you get to this point in the season. But nothing bad. Just, we had to pivot a couple players and do some things a little bit differently than what we wanted to. But overall, like the experience of this year, the team, like I've been posting about the team a lot. Like just the joy and the love that they bring to the game and how they play as a team and how they have each other's backs. Like there's nothing I would change. I might change a couple of my play calls, honestly. But as far as the year, no, I think we did what we set out to do. We did want to win a championship, but us getting to the championship for the first time since 2018, 2019, with 13 newcomers, I think that's huge. So we just got to keep building from here.
All right, Coach, and I want you to talk about that play, because it's not the first time I've seen us where we draw that throw to Suggan and then still home. We've done that before.
Walk off, Kelvin. Kelvin, that's called the Little League walk off.
I knew it was coming.
Go ahead and talk about it, Coach.
Yeah, we like to be aggressive on the bases. We do. That is part of our strategy. That's something that we work on a lot in practice, taking extra bases, making the defense feel that pressure, and knowing that team, they had 8 of their 9 starters or 8 of their 10 starters were freshmen. So we had to capitalize on that lack of softball IQ a little bit. So shout out to Kiana Watson for knowing to stay on the base when that girl came back to tag her, and then knowing when to take off. We talk about a lot. When second base is open, we want it. We want to be as greedy as possible, get as many bases as possible. So when that girl turned to make the throw to second base, Mia Blasingame, being the senior and the high softball IQ that she has, she took off and she did exactly what she's supposed to do. She slid to the back of the bag, which again, we practice that in practice as well. So everything we work on, it came together, and we tried it one more time, but Alabama State wasn't falling for it. We tried to end the game a little bit early against them in 5 innings, and we did it one more time, and they didn't take the bait, which is okay. Like that, they learn from the other team's mistake, but we're gonna stay aggressive. That's part of what we do, and any team that can handle our aggressiveness, that's great. But if you can't handle it, you're gonna find yourself on the wrong side to win every time.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Well said. Marcus, go ahead.
Well, good evening, Coach. Congratulations on your progression through the tournament.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask, being in the tournament, I know it's been less than a week. What have you learned from the tournament, if you've had a chance to reflect, and what do you hope the team and the returning players have learned from their experience, if you've had a chance to process that as well?
A couple things. I think like anybody, you have a favorite outfit. Something that you want to put on, you're gonna feel comfortable in. You know you look good in it.
Black.
And for us, that's the black. We love the all black. We love the all black, black skin, black uniforms. They just go hand in hand. And so trying to get our team out of that mindset and trying to make sure they understood, like, hey, it's a privilege to wear white or to wear the lighter colors because you're the 1 seed. So we talked a lot about that. They asked every single day, can we just wear black? Can we wear? And I'm like, no, like y'all got to understand, if we're wearing black, that's a bad thing. Like we don't want to wear black. So some of that also comes with maturity. So Next year, we'll try and incorporate a little bit more whites and our different colors into our everyday game wear. Typically, I let the players choose what they want to wear. I really don't care either way. It's up to them. As long as they feel good, they're going to play good. So if we can get them feeling better in the all white or the orange and white or the green and white, I think the longer we play in the tournament, the more comfortable they'll feel as well. If y'all notice, as soon as we got the black uniforms on, we went and put 8 runs on Alabama State.
Yep.
And then we gave Jackson State a run for their money. So like I said, we just got to get them comfortable wearing all the uniforms again. But yeah, so I think that's the biggest thing. Also just getting the players to understand that when things beyond our control happen, we have to stay where our feet is. Like if they're on the ground and they're on the field, our brain has to be there. Our heart has to be there. Like I said, we had some things happening and I could tell that their head was somewhere else. Their heart was outside of the field. And so trying to rein them back in a little bit too late, that kind of cost us in that first game against Jackson State. But now that we have that experience, now that we've won, not 1, not 2, but 3 games in the SWAC tournament, and the team knows we can do it, I think going forward, the expectation is going to be to be that number 1 seed still going into that championship game, not having to, win a game on that Friday night and then turn around and play again on Saturday, have we won. Not having to play 2 games on Friday, because that also can mess with you a little bit. And then also for me, it's trying to get the SWAC to have a little bit better communication with us. We knew a storm was coming in Friday. We talked about it Monday in our head coaches meeting. No shade to the SWAC, but we knew it was coming. We talked about it Monday night. And Friday morning when we got up, or Thursday night actually, we asked the SWAC office, we said, hey, what's going to happen with the weather, us and the Alabama State coach. And we didn't really get a definite answer. So we're sitting on the bus, we're about to pull off, and the floodgates open. I'm glad we were sitting on Noah's Ark, but it was coming down. It was coming down hard. And sitting on the bus for an hour and a half before you got to go to the field and get off and play because you don't have a chance to go in the hotel and kind of relax, that kind of messes with you. And it might not mess with you in that first game, but some of the tightness, some of the soreness, some of just the stiffness, the tiredness, it can catch up with you. And I think we saw that against JSU. So that would be something I would change, is just making sure we have a better line of communication with them of what the plan is, getting the plan out early, having a contingency plan for when weather does hit. Because the last 3 years we've been to the tournament, it's rained someday. And that's been, it's going to continue to happen. You're at the beach, you're on the water. It's May, of course it's going to rain. So just making sure we have something in place for when that happens, to make sure that the players on both sides or all the schools don't feel like they're at a disadvantage.
Okay. Thank you, Coach.
Go ahead, Drew.
2 questions for you, Coach, and I want to pivot back to what you just mentioned about Friday. Obviously, the storm hit where you guys were at before the storm hit Tallahassee. But was there any, anxiety amongst your players as they were starting to get reports of what was happening in Tallahassee on campus? For those who live around campus and everything, was there any type of anxiety? And did that kind of creep into any of the play that we saw on Friday?
I really don't know if it crept into the play. Like I said, some of those things catch up with you later on in the day. The more time they spend away from their phones, the more that anxiety starts to creep in. When they're on their phone and they can talk to their friends and they can check on their stuff and, they're in communication with their families and make sure they're okay. They're at more peace because they know what's going on. It's when we're on the field and, you see the lightning strike or you feel that drop of rain and it's like, well, what just happened in Tallahassee, and is everything okay? So they did get reports. Like I said, when we were sitting on the bus while it was raining, some of those reports started coming in. I got a couple of phone calls that morning, just, people coming by my place to check on it, making sure that everything was good where I'm at, and just let me know what was going on. Cause we had no idea that weather was supposed to be hitting. We didn't know it was going to be that bad. And then when the pictures started rolling in, that's when the team really started feeling like, oh my gosh, and when they saw the softball field, that broke their heart a little bit, which I think actually gave them motivation going into that Alabama State game. But it was when we were on the way back, they're having a good time on the bus. They're having a little party in the back while the coach is sitting on the front trying to get some rest. And when we pulled up to campus, that's when they were just like, oh my gosh, they saw all the trees and all the lines down. They saw the fences down on the softball field, and I think that's when it really hit them. So I wouldn't say it crept into the game too much in a negative way, but I do think that my team was affected.
And just an FYI, you guys would had you won, you would have had a place up in Thomasville to be able to handle your business. Same offer that my university extended to the baseball team, we would have extended to the softball team also. So just to know that. Question number 2. You had an exchange, I think it was the championship game, maybe the semifinal, between you and the umpires, and then the supervisor of officials comes out also to join into the conversation. What can you tell us about that exchange between everybody? And obviously there's always some gamesmanship from the coach trying to get, you're not going to get that call, but you're trying to get the next call. So just kind of with what you can tell us, what happened?
So
Come on, coach. Yeah.
All right, we keep it honest on here. We keep it 100 every time we're on here, right? So the play was Nia Morgan from her knees threw their girl out by about 2 steps going to second base. So that was going to give us the first out of the game. Very early, very, very early in the game. And the coach, who actually was my coach in college, so that's a cool little tidbit, but he challenged, and he said that there was obstruction. So they challenged it. They went and they looked at the review. And the way that our review happens is, they send it up to top, and somebody looks at it, and then they go to the headphones, all that kind of stuff. So when it came back, they said that it was obstruction. And my question was, okay, well, explain to me how that was obstruction. And I needed them to give me a very in-depth explanation, because in real time, I did not see obstruction. I saw that Kiana was on the backside of the bag. The throw took her in front, which you're allowed to go into the path of the runner if the throws take you there. She caught it. She tagged the girl. The girl was clearly out, and but they said that she did not give the girl a clear path to the bag to start with. And I was like, well, that's not how the rule is written. So then I challenged the rule, the interpretation of the rule. And when you challenge the interpretation of the rule, you have to put the game under protest. So I asked the umpire, said, is this a protestable call? Can I protest this? And they said, well, we think so. They said, yeah, you can protest it. So, all right, let me put the game under protest. Again, this is a game that's going to get us to the championship. So as hard as my players are fighting everything they had to fight through that week, like, now it's time for me to go to bat for them. Like, I got to fight for them. So it was a little bit of a battle. They went, and that's when you saw the head umpire in charge came down, and she said that was not a protestable call because it was challenged. But I tried to explain my case of, hey, like, in the rule book on page number 114, when you want to say that you want to protest a call, I read the rule book because I like to get away with stuff. You got to know what you can get away with. So I tried to explain it that way, and they said, hey, coach, like, you're not even supposed to challenge a challenge. Like, in the back of the book, it says that once a challenge is overturned or a challenge happens, that the coach cannot challenge what the final call was. And if they do, it's supposed to be immediate ejection. So I took a little gamble. And that's why I said I want to put it under protest, because there is a caveat in the protest rule where you can protest a challenge. So that was a long conversation, and y'all kind of saw me walk off, and I came back and I said some more things, and I walked off again, and I was like, okay, I got to get my team there. So I walked back and I said some more things. Very respectful though. Like, thank you to the umpiring crew, because they understood that I was just trying to get an understanding. It was no disrespect for Alabama State, their coach, or the umpires. It was just honestly, I felt like they got the call wrong. The more I went back and looked at it, I said, I can see why they may have called it obstruction. But at the same time, I had to fight for my players. And I'm not one who, I don't like to talk to umpires too often. Like, I'm good friends with a lot of the umpires around this area. Like, I respect them off the field and definitely respect them on the field. But that was something I thought they got called wrong. So I had to do what I do. And I just, I tried to sweet talk them a little bit. It didn't work. But it's okay, because the next girl that came up, she got thrown out. So it all worked out in the end. It also kind of put Alabama State on edge a little bit, and gave my players the confidence to know that no matter what they do, I'm always have their back.
Yeah. Only thing I'm gonna add to that is I thought when you reverse a call on the field, it's supposed to be 100% evidence that the call should be reversed, not a 50-50 call. I'm gonna leave it right there.
You're right. There's got to be indisputable evidence
Yes.
For the call to be overturned, which I didn't see. You know, I sent it to some umpire friends that I have, and a lot of them say, yeah, it could be obstruction. And then I had a couple that were like, no, that's not obstruction. I wouldn't call that. So I guess it's a coin flip. But like I said, you know, like I really think, at least I hope that kind of gave our team some spark to go ahead and get some runs across the board, because we saw how the game was going to go if we did.
If it's coin flip, that means you should have went with the call on the field, whatever the original call is. I'm done, Brian.
Hey, Coach, with and it brings a question to mind with your knowledge of the rule book, and even in kind of your suggestions earlier about the formatting. And I know you're only a couple years in as a head coach at the SWAC. Would you like to be a part of, or do you feel like you have a line of communication with the leadership of the SWAC softball to be able to make suggestions or to comment, or would you like to have more of a engagement with the officials for the betterment of the game? Obviously, you know, using some of that knowledge and background that you have.
I would love to. I would love for people to listen to me. I would love for them to hear what I got to say. I will say that sometimes when you're so used to doing things a certain way, it can be hard to change those things. And I found that, you know, within certain conferences, I'll say, well, ours is one, but there are other conferences out there where you have coaches who've been doing this for forever. Their voice normally gets heard a little bit louder than the newbie, than the young coach. And that's just, it's an uphill battle. But I do think that, you know, by showing what we did this year, that my voice would be a little bit more elevated when we have some of these talks. And I'm hoping that, you know, in addition to when coaches decide to do something, that the ADs and the presidents also back the coaches, because we're making decisions for a reason. You know, we're keeping ourselves and our players and the program and the forethought of all the decisions that we're making. And I think a lot of times it can get lost, because, you know, you have to think about finances. You got to think about travel costs. You have to think about, you know, the student athlete well-being, when at the end of the day, that's all we as coaches care about. So I would love to have a little bit more of a say-so in some of the things that happen, at least to be able to express my opinion and why I think certain things. I think the longer I coach, you know, I think the louder my voice will get. And I think people will see that you can always change things. And if it doesn't work, you can always go back.
True indeed. True indeed. Did you like replay? My last question. Did you like replay in the tournament? I know it's something that is really not used a lot during the regular season. I don't know if you had any experiences on road games. I don't think we use it at home games. But and then you get to the tournament and you have replay. Did you like having replay, or would you rather not have that option?
I mean, I would like it more if I got a call overturned every once in a while. But I lost every challenge that I did. I'm like, come on, like something seems rigged. But honestly, I do like the replay. I think it would be a lot more beneficial if we got to use it during our regular season. You know, SWAC put something in place where every school has to have replay. You know, again, I know it's a financial burden to some schools, but being able to use that throughout the season. We used it whenever we played in our tournament at FSU, at Troy. Like we had replay. We could go to the headphones, and that helped being able to know, okay, what is a challengeable call and what's not. Which in that last Jackson State game, interesting enough, there was a challenge that should not have happened. So when the bottom of the seventh inning, their coach challenged our player being out of the box. And that is not
I remember that.
That is not an allowable challenge call. And so the fact that the umpires went to the headphones, called her out of the box, changed the momentum of the seventh inning. Because you know, you got no outs in the bottom of the seventh, you're down by 2. Like you hope that your first person gets on base so you can make some magic happen. And I felt that's what we're gonna do. But when that happened and they overturned that call, I got a call from a Power 5 umpire who happened to be, watching the game and checking us out and stuff like that. And he was like, they can't challenge that call. And I said, well, I know, but they told me I was going to get thrown out if I challenged another challenge. So, kind of had to eat that one. But again, like I feel like the same way that it can give coaches and players practice for using the challenge call, it would help the umpires to be able to know what can be challenged and what can't, and what exactly we're looking for. If you challenge something, you have to challenge something specifically. Right. You can't just challenge. You can't challenge it broadly. So the fact that even the announcer said, well, first they were looking at this and now they're looking at this. They thought the ball hit her, but now they're going to see if she was out of the box. It's like, no, you have to challenge one specific aspect of that play. So I think that as a conference, we need more practice with it for the coaches and for the umpires. But I like it. I'm here for it.
All right. Good stuff. Kelvin, Marcus, any final questions you got for Coach P?
Have you heard from the mystery young lady that you're hoping to sign for this class?
I have not.
I know we got two. Okay.
I have not, but I will say she is in the middle of a championship run right now. So I'm gonna give her time, and then once hopefully they go win this championship, then hopefully I hear back from her, and if I don't, then that's okay too. But some of the girls that we have signed, some of the players we have signed, are in their championship run as well. One in particular, Sierra, or we call her CC. CC, she is going to play Friday at 7 against, I can't even pronounce the school, somebody from Melbourne. But she has 37 stolen bases on the year. She's got, I think, a couple home runs. So I told her today, I told her mom, I said, hey, just make sure she stays in her zone and does what she wants to do and does what she can do. There's no pressure, but if they win this game, they get the chance to win state. So I'm wishing them all the best down there at Eustis High School. My friend Brittany Beal, go win us a championship again. And we love to recruit their players. Like we've had a lot of players come through that Eustis program. Soraya Brokenborough, who's the other girl? Tyra Bowers, and a couple other players. But yeah, I hope they win this championship too.
Eustis Panthers.
The Panthers. Yeah.
We'll be keeping an eye out. Go Eustis Panthers. Let's go. Any Rattlers in the I know there's a lot of Rattlers in the Lake County area. Y'all make sure y'all root for Eustis. We got one of our future softball. What was the young lady's name again?
Sierra Maple. CC. We call her CC.
CC. All right. We make sure we any Rattlers in the house. Y'all make sure you root for CC and the Eustis Panthers. Any final questions there, Kelvin or Drew, before we wrap it up with Coach?
No, thank you, Coach, for being accessible. Thank you for a great season. I really feel great about our program is in great hands. I love your professionalism and how you teach the game. I know you got some camps coming up. Make sure you you keep that information out, and we'll definitely push it on the show and just continue what you're doing. Keep growing, Coach.
Thank you.
I did have one final question for you, Coach. Would you like to see more crossover between the East and the West during the regular season?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I definitely would. That's something that we've talked about it for the last couple of years. And it hasn't happened yet.
What's it gonna take?
What is it going to take? Yeah.
Besides money. That's
the only thing. And it's, shout out to AD Tiffany. Like she sided with us with what we wanted. She asked me what I wanted. Did we want to cross over? Did we want, to play some of the West teams? When I said yes, she went to bat for it. And ultimately other schools decided that it wasn't the right time. So hopefully that time is coming soon. I think that it would make everything a lot more competitive. When you look at the last 4 teams in the SWAC tournament, they're all East teams, which is, which I think that's the first time that's happened since we've been in the SWAC, since there's been an East and a West. So I'm hoping that seeing that some of the West teams get on board and want to play some crossover games to see, I don't want to say better competition, but to see different competition, to see the other side of the bracket, so that when you go into the tournament, you kind of have an idea of what's going on. Shout out to Nia Morgan's dad. Hey, Mr. Morgan.
Hey, the West don't want to see no part of these.
They don't. But It's I think that just to grow the game, that's always the goal. You want the game to get better. You want the competition to get better. We want our RPI as a conference to go up. And so with even saying that, like, I'm gonna step on some toes real quick. Some of the teams on the East and the West, like, y'all got to stop playing these NAIA teams, stop playing these Division II teams, stop playing these JUCOs during season. That's what your preseason's for. That's what your fall is for. But stop playing them, because as a conference, we can only grow if we say we're going to play better competition. Our RPI is the lowest out of all the conferences, lower than the MEAC. MEAC, I remember, like, back when we were playing the MEAC, like, they had something in place where you couldn't play. You can only play a certain number of Division II teams. In SWAC, I don't think we have that rule. So I think that some of these other coaches and programs and administrations need to pony up and play the tough competition. It's only going to make you better. Y'all saw what we did. We started 0-11 this season, and it was crazy. Like, it was not fun for the players. It was fun for me because, like, hey, we get to play the best of the best. We're playing top 25 teams and knowing that it's going to prepare us for the season, and you see how we ended. So it's only going to make them better. I know, you want to pad stats and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, it's not worth it. But what is worth it is to play those harder teams, play even teams on our same level, pull some of those MEAC teams, play them, play a crossover, play in the HBCU tournaments that they have in Atlanta and in Montgomery. And, play D1. We're D1 for a reason, play D1. And I think that as a conference, we'll see everything elevated.
Ooh, that's what they call a walk-off shot.
Drop the mic.
That is a mic drop, walk-off shot out of here.
We got Coach, church on Wednesday night, y'all.
Amen. Hey, Coach, you make sure you let us know again when your camps are and the website, so that way we can we can promote that and push that. Okay.
Definitely.
And again, congratulations to you. Thank you to the seniors. What an outstanding job. Naya, Mia, Naomi,
and Amaya Gaynor.
And Amaya Gaynor, man. That's the Fab Four, and they set the table for the next generation here. So congratulations to them, and we can't wait to see what the future holds in the off season for the next group of Rattlers.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be hard work, but it's gonna be fun.
Yes, we know it will. And so anything we can do to help promote the program, all you gotta do is let us know, Coach, and it's done. It's a done deal. All right, y'all. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Coach. Be well.
All right, bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's Coach Camise Patterson.
She bringing that smoke.
Woo! That's a straight heater. All gas, no brakes. That's what we love. Coach P, keep it real. When you come on the ONG, keep it real. That's right. So coming up in the next hour or after the break, we're gonna talk to Vaughn Wilson. Oh, Vaughn's got it's a keep it real Wednesday. Kelvin's got the belt. Vaughn's got some things to say. I'm just gonna be quiet this episode. Y'all don't want to hear from me.
I believe that when I see it, Bryan.
I'm gonna let Kelvin and Vaughn do the talking. Marcus, I'm gonna sit like Marcus and be like this. I'm gonna let y'all do the heavy lifting. Coming up on the other side of this break, we get into some of the hot topics, and that's what y'all want to talk about. So we'll get into it right here on the other side of the break. You're watching ONG Strike Zone right here on the Black College Sports Network. We'll be back in just a moment.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties. Through its programs, Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentjax.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, Kever'sVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him.
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messages quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less. He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
All right, welcome back to the ONG Strike Zone. Full house backfield here. Bryan Fulford. Okay, hold on. Don't do that. Take that off. Stop. Edwin Moore, you steady trying to get me in trouble. See, Edwin, you need to stop it. Stop it, Edwin. Stop it. All right. Bryan Fulford, Marcus Green, Kelvin Rozier, AD Drew, and Vaughn Wilson joining us of HBCUGameDay.com. Want to remind everybody, hit the thumbs up and the like button wherever you are watching the show. We appreciate you. You can always leave a donation on the YouTube channel in the super chats, or you can always make a donation right there on the Cash App there, my JBM, my BCSN right there, or you can scan that QR code and go there. All right, so a lot's been happening. Today was the emergency Board of Trustees meeting, and it's been, let me see, how many days has it been now? It's been 10 days since the gift that never happened, as all of the references regarding the something $1 million donation in stocks was donated to FAMU. It's gone.
Monopoly. Monopoly stocks.
Yeah, right. Okay. So Vaughn, you, I don't even know how to surmise.
He finally cracked a smile.
I don't even know how to summarize today's board meeting. So I will let you get the first crack at it. And then I know Kelvin got his belt around the collar and he has some thoughts. So Vaughn, you even had you were part of the was it the open forum portion where you shared your thoughts. What's your takeaway from what we saw today?
Well, Bryan, everybody hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. First off, it's an honor to be on here with you guys. I support the show. I love what you all do on a weekly basis. So thanks for having me on and giving me this opportunity. The reason for my comments today on the FAMU Board of Trustees meeting is I knew it was going to be a crap show. It didn't take rocket science to figure out it was going to be a crap show. What I was doing was thinking forward. I just know from being a part of the 220 quarterback club, it's now time for us to raise money for the cooling chamber. It's now time for us to raise money for the nutrition station. My comments were aimed very, very strategically at letting our fan base know, don't get distracted by whatever is going on with this donation. We still have responsibilities that we need to do. And that's why I crafted my statement. I actually read it. I was very intentional about what I said, and us not to lose focus on our students that chose to come to the highest of 7 hills. and also our student athletes. So that's what my comments were meant to do. I knew that it was going to be contentious today. I was there on the front row at graduation for HBCU game day covering commencement. A few minutes before commencement, they told us, hey, be here because there's going to be a big check presented. And when that check got uncovered at first, sitting up there, and I was like, wow, he gave $237,000. That's pretty good. And then I was like, wait a minute, there's another comma up there. 237 million. And then I was like, whoa. And then and it kind of permeated through the room because they didn't say the number. They just uncovered the check. And as the crowd did like I did, realized there were 3 more zeros, it got loud in commencement. Right.
Who this man?
So anyway,
IDs.
That's not going through your mind when you see that initially.
I went to school in business I was in the school of business with Shante Friday Stroud. This is when I first got my first red flag. When he said, the check is in the bank, right? And he looked at Dr. Friday Stroud. She tried as long as she could not to acknowledge it. And he kept staring at her. So she gave him one nod. If you look back at it, she gave him one nod because he was not going to move on without that. Okay? So, a little odd. I've known Shante a long time. She's a very confident woman. She was not confident. So they invite us to the press conference after that, where we're sitting in a conference room in the Lawson Center. And this weird guy is up at the front, and everything about him is weird. Every single thing about him is weird. And I'm like, well, he just gave us $237 million. So maybe, I'm thinking he must be a billionaire. So maybe billionaires are weird. I don't have a friend that's a billionaire. So anyway, so then he does his opening statement, and he says, yes, we made the stock transfer to FAMU. That's when the flag was at full mast. You said it was a check was in the bank. Now you say it's stocks. A few minutes later. That's when I first started getting worried. But for FAMU, I was hoping that it was something that was real. I still was hoping. We had the lady from CEDAR was there, and she was talking about how they never get any donations and how it can help those students with disabilities. You had VP 80 Sykes talking about how this was going to transform the field house and how it was going to help athletics. And, all of these things that you really want to feel good about, but you still had that red flag. And so a few days later, things start unraveling. And it became apparent that Houston, we have a problem. I don't know how we got to this point and did not vet anything about him. I mean, a 10-minute search on Google of his name, and several different things come up. And so here we are at the Board of Trustees meeting today. And I expected from the invitation, I wanted to make sure I got on the public comment because I wanted to challenge the Rattler Nation. Do not be distracted by all of this because we have a job to do. If we want to get back to championship status like last year, we have to at least do what we did last year. We got to provide the resources to our football team, to our other teams so that they can survive and thrive. And, our teams that were close, like track, we got to figure out what we got to do extra for track to get them over the hump to win a championship. These are the kind of things that were in my mind, and I put them in the opening statement. Do not be disturbed by FAMU making a mistake. We made a mistake of dropping our golf program less than a decade ago.
Mm-hmm.
We dropped it. Fast forward. We corrected that mistake and got them back. So last week, I was able to watch them run away with the HBCU National Championship. My point was FAMU, in its 137-year history, has made mistakes. Every university has. But the mark of a great university or institution or business is that you come back from the mistakes. We don't even need to name the failed D1 move. I mean, we don't even need to name the mistakes. They're there. It just so happens that Jay Walker, my good friend from ESPN, he has a statement that he always tells me every single time I see him. The first thing Jay Walker says to me, it's always something at FAMU. That's a statement. He doesn't even say hello. He's gonna say it's always something at FAMU, right? So we win the Celebration Bowl. Coaching thing happens. Jay Walker calls. I pick up the phone. Man, it's always something at FAMU. Y'all should be on top of the world celebrating the only the second SWAC school, one of the few HBCUs in the country that have won the Celebration Bowl, won the national championship. Y'all should be celebrating, but now y'all fighting about the coach. Mm-hmm. Last night I get a call from Jay Walker. And I already know. Yeah, it's always. I picked up the phone and said, "Yeah, it's always something at FAMU." Y'all just won the champion. I know. We just won the golf champ. I know, Jay. I know all of this. It's something that we have to get out of that cycle, though, because just like Jay recognized it, it's not just us Rattlers who recognize it. It's starting to be a pattern. Mm-hmm. That something good happens, something bad happens. We got to change that trend. As far as today's Board of Trustees meeting, fellas, I don't know if y'all saw what I saw, but that Board of Trustees is not happy with Dr. Robinson, and it's not just about this. This seemed like to be the icing on the cake that they're going to try to encapsulate all of their anger. It was really, I was really shocked and surprised as I continued. There were some angry trustees on there about not being communicated with, and then rightfully so, they should be upset that we did not vet this situation better. But I just get that there's a lot more brewing there between the trustees and the president that we did not know of, and it exposed itself today to all of us. Like, whoa, you know. And I'm sure you all saw it like I did. I'm almost, as a fan, as a supporter, we can't make it go away, right? It's not going to go away. It's there. There's really no way to minimize it. We're going to have to go through this, you know? And I just wish we could go ahead and go through it. The president has already admitted that they made mistakes. They didn't see the red flags. Spending money on an outside agency, I don't know what extra they can uncover that we can't ourselves ascertain what happened wrong. So why are we spending that extra money? He's already said we missed the red flag. Okay, so you don't need an external person to say the president and the foundation were at fault for not vetting. They already said it. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like pouring salt on an open wound. But hey, the trustees have a job, that is to manage the president. They're one employee that Trustee Clyde rightfully kept repeating today, and so this is how they're going to do it. But I saw a lot more discord than I ever thought was with the trustees and the president. We just never knew. It was below the surface for real.
Kelvin, give you your opportunity. What did you see? What did you come away with? Where does your frustration and angers lie?
I'm gonna try to keep it factual. I might get a little comical later on. I do have a bit ready with this belt, but I want to talk a little serious right now. So what I'll say is I'll start off by saying you saw this coming, right? In Dr. Robinson's tenure, we've had a lot of national mess ups, right? The APR issue with the football team and players not being eligible, not just football, by the way. That has been a recurring theme up until last year. So, and the one where players were talking about not going to play the North Carolina game potentially. That was national. That was a national fiasco. You've heard us talk about the number of CFOs and controllers and budget directors that have been under Dr. Robinson just in the last since 2019. I know there's at least 4 CFOs, if not more. And some of them were dismissed without any explanation. Those are the people who hold your money. We talking about 237 million, and we've got a rotating door there. And then you look at the AD search and how this current AD got here. You had a committee and you had this process, and then all of a sudden, people who didn't make it past the cut, they getting added back in, and it didn't look like what the committee did mattered. Then you look at the football search, which was another national fiasco, where essentially most of your players and your DSOs against your AD and your administration, including your chair of your board of trustees, because they didn't believe it was transparent and it was going against the wishes of that group. So we've seen evidence, and this not even going to the other things that you can point to on the non-athletic side. We'll just keep it on the athletic side for now. So we've seen this potential issue coming. I don't know why you would have someone serving as the foundation, the director of development, and dean for 5-6 years. I don't understand that. You had a search process. You had qualified candidates to take over the foundation. You decided not to do it. Now, obviously, this pending announcement probably played into that decision. Given that you said you vetted this person 6 months, it makes you question everything about the president and those involved, and rightfully so. I don't know why people get upset when people were questioning this. Last week, on this show, I questioned it and had concerns. It was pretty obvious that this joker ain't have no. He have $2.37, just more than $2 million. But they stuck with it, and then they doubled down on it, right? When the questions started coming out that Sunday afterwards, and folks like, well, this concerning, and we've done our due diligence. Let me say this, and I think all of us as parents, husbands, or workers, anybody who's had a relationship, once you have no trust, you have no relationship. So that's where we are with this leadership, the president specifically. And I totally agree with the point that Vaughn was trying to make. That makes no sense to have an outside source. We love to do stupid stuff and waste money, right? Just like when we hired Coach Cozy. We just did this 4 months ago. The committee literally told everybody who they wanted, right? And by the numbers, we knew who they wanted, right? We knew who the names were. But yet we still put on this charade and get a outside vendor to tell us to hire the guy who's already on staff in the interim. I mean, it makes me question all them ninjas, to be honest with you. I mean, this is not complicated. That firm is not going to tell us anything different that we don't already know. And in any other environment, we understand that when you make an error of this magnitude, and some people call it error, I call it arrogance, because you had a foundation board with very seasoned people, including people who have background in banking, that you could have dropped this off to and included in. I'm not sure how much our legal team, and there's some legal folks on that foundation board too that could have helped. I just don't understand the arrogance that we're gonna make this happen, and you don't even research the person's website. You don't do a background of their character. You just take something that they submitted to you and you move forward with. And the Negro, he spoke at commencement. A Negro with no degree. And all the other, I'm not going to be mean like everybody else yet. But out of all the different signs that was there, none of that gives you pause to say, we appreciate it. You know, maybe there'll be a time for that, but now is not the time, at the very least. So at the end of the day, I agree with Vaughn. We got to move forward. I'm not worried about Rally Nation over Vaughn. Rally Nation does what Rally Nation do. We're going to support our teams. We're going to support our coaches, our support staff. We're going to do that part. But I'm going to say a word that Rally Nation don't like to do. And I heard it once or twice at the board meeting. Accountability. Two things can be true. We need a support, but we definitely need accountability. And we know what accountability looks like. I'm not jumping up for joy. I really needed this to be true, man. $207 million, man, with 100 going to athletics, man. We off to the races, man, if that happens. But this was this is low-hanging fruit. This was easy to see that it was not going to be a realistic deal. It was fraudulent, and it should have been caught. There was experts around that, that they could have helped lean on this, and they didn't. They made a choice. They the captain of a sinking ship now. And as a squid myself, old Navy guy, the captain goes down with the ship, baby. And that's where we are. Now, I understand the politics and the reluctance because of the politics. I hear all that. And I do think there needs to be some kind of strategy involved. But at the end of the day, change got to happen. And it has to happen not just because of this, but you add the totality of this huge embarrassment with other things that have been going wrong for a long time. It's just time. And frankly, university presidents usually average about 5 to 7 years tops. So he's had his good run. See ya.
Hey, Bryan.
Yes.
One of the things that was really most impactful to me, first off, we got a smart board of trustees with a variety of areas of expertise. They were very, very, they have areas of expertise. Processes, Trustee Clyat is a process guy. He that's a guy that's going to go by the book. Trustee Perry went over the legals. Nope, we can't do this. This is illegal, whatever. It was actually kind of impressive to see our board come together in their areas of expertise. But man, let me tell you, one of the most impactful things to me was when Crossman spoke. And he said, I only post good things about FAMU on my social media.
I heard that.
And I trusted you all, and I posted this, and now I'm getting the backlash. Man, that's a powerful statement. It defines me so much. I'm not a guy that's going to run out and post something bad about FAMU. Although I know it exists, I'm not going to be the person that's going to promote it, And so I saw a lot of myself in his statement today, and so many of us that don't gravitate to the negative. So many of us just want FAMU to be great. We wish the negative didn't happen, and we definitely aren't going to promote it. But to hear that from him, a guy who's not a FAMU grad, who's on the trustees, who serves for free as a trustee, to say that, it really cut to your soul of how deep this wound has been opened up. That was pretty tough.
Hey, Brian,
Let me.
Brian, let me jump in real quick, and then I'm gonna stay off this subject for a minute. But I remember we done talked about the first strike guys. We done had them on this show. Where guys, trying to raise money and promote games and so forth in order to generate revenue for athletics. We've had, Ms. Bullock, who wanted us to return back to the OBC to try to generate revenue for money. We had the P3, which we did a procurement process for, and we had a Rattler who CD Construct 2 responded to and was willing to do all phases of that P3, which included athletic facilities. We've had Tony Baselli brought to the table before in his group with trying to work with the university. Remember, I had this tirade I talked about. Well, fan, you got to learn how to be good partners. Well, I remember all these legitimate folks who would come to the table to these same people and been told no and over vetted. And then you let some raggedy mouth, yuck mouth come off the street, contact you, come off the street and sell you that he got 237 million, and you let him speak at commencement. And you don't question nothing from him. All these legitimate folks who came forward that they never got the opportunity. I mean, that for me, that says it all, man. I mean, this is on us. And don't get mad at people for reporting and this news. We FAMU, we're a big brand. We always talking about we brag different, and we're gonna continue to do big stuff. That's all true. That's all true. That means we're gonna do bad big stuff too. And this is one of them bad big stuff. All right. So we gotta own it and don't get all so because people talking about it and trolling or they on shows and they promoting it and they showing I trust these meetings. Hey, we FAMU. That's that when you're on top, that's just how it is, So don't be getting sensitive about that. And I'm gonna leave it right there, Brian. You got it.
All right, Brian, let me jump in real quick.
Oh, go ahead, Mark.
I got a couple things. First thing, I guess my biggest disappointment, other than the banana in the tailpipe with this, with the proposal, was that President Robinson, as Kelvin alluded to, had a 7-year run. But with this incident and the way the tea leaves or whatever leaves you want to read are going, we have now sacrificed the stability of having the same person in the role for 7 years after 20 years of, or at least the first 15, starting back with when Dr. Humphreys retired, of a lot of churn and turnover in the president's chair and the AD's chair simultaneously, which had us treading water or sinking a little bit. And now we sacrifice it for a bogus multi-million-dollar donation. So I'm definitely disappointed in the way things went down and the fact that we're now sacrificing our stability for something that wasn't properly vetted or was vetted based on the words of Dr. Friday Stroud. It was vetted and decided to go forward anyway. So I think the other thing that I think contributes to this is that regardless of Dr. Robinson, that we've been around FAMU long enough, and we've talked about it on this show and other forums about the FAMU culture where things are siloed in terms of who earns what money, who brings in what donor, and how things get walled off, and there's a lack of collaboration. And I think that and ego played a big role in this, because that culture existed even back during our golden era, even back during Dr. Humphreys. When you talk to certain people, certain organizations, things were siloed. Lee Hall or Foothillier had their donors, their connections. The Career Center had theirs. Somebody else had theirs, and didn't allow or didn't want or push back on interference or any encroachment. And that builds up walls. And I think this is an example, an unfortunate example from a PR standpoint, and perhaps for Dr. Robinson, of another cultural norm or cultural paradigm within FAMU that has come back to bite him. The third thing is that Mr. Clyat's comments, he made it very clear that he's had issues with Dr. Robinson. He stated very clearly in his past performance reviews that Dr. Robinson has had some missteps in management that he felt needed to be corrected, and they haven't been corrected. So I don't know to what degree, if any, all the other trustees have the same perspective, and that's basically like the last torpedo that's going to sink the battleship. So who knows where that's going to turn out. The fourth thing I want to talk about is, I both know you and Vaughn and other folks are saying that we don't need a third party. We know what happened. And we've had discussions offline. I don't necessarily agree with that line of thinking, only because sometimes you need an independent third party. And yes, there's money out the window, but there's some systemic issues that are going on. It's easy to fall with the physical cause and the human root cause, which is when you fire people and replace people. But moving people and moving things, if you don't change the culture and if you don't have established procedures that you adhere to, and you don't correct and fill those holes in and close those gaps procedurally, then you're going to eventually leave yourself vulnerable to potentially the same thing. You can't depend on the memory of it happening to prevent it. You have to have structure and procedures in place. And apparently we didn't have it, or they were bypassed. So either they were ignored, they were insufficient, or they were non-existent. So those are system root causes. So those things, regardless of who's president, regardless who's AD, regardless who's VP of advancement, those things need to be in place with the Board of Trustees and everybody, so anybody come in going forward, that there's something that prevents, from a structural and systemic point of view, from happening again, whether not depending on memory, not depending on PR missteps or anything of that nature. So the best way, I guess, in my opinion, just based on whatever I've been involved with, and even if you think of infamous examples like Space Shuttle and all other things, other disasters, you had an independent third party who can come in objectively, ask the questions, look at the total systems that allowed this to happen in the first place, not just on a singular person, but what missteps fell between foundation, the president, the multiple roles that Dr. Friday Stroud had to play, all of those things, how it converged to create this situation and put in solutions to fix it. And you don't have to worry about job protection. You don't have to worry about somebody, because a third party is going to come in and, just like, I don't know what they call it, a special investigator or a special prosecutor, when they have something along those lines, where you would get to the root cause, and it'll cause step on some toes. And it might step in more toes than what we would expect, because it's going to have ramifications across multiple departments. It may involve performance reviews, things that have done or haven't been done across multiple entities or multiple departments, such that it created this to happen. But then it'll shore all that up and make sure it doesn't happen again. So that's why I would argue on behalf of having an independent third party that doesn't have a vested interest. And the Board of Trustees, once again, they're doing this apparently on a volunteer basis, and they put their heart, mind, and soul into it. But do they have the collective expertise and time in order to investigate it to the depths that needs to be done, such that this won't happen again?
Well, let me just say, Marcus, you're absolutely right, but that's not what they proposing. That's not what I heard. So, and I would say that would need to be separate from what we're talking about in terms of the personnel side. There's a personnel side to this thing, and then there's a systemic or programmatic side to it. What you're speaking to is the systematic or programmatic side to it. I absolutely agree. That's what needs to happen, but that's not what I'm hearing. I'm hearing, what I heard was, hey, we need to find out what happened here, right? We know what happened here. And it sounded to me as if they were speaking more to the personnel side of who did what, the timing of when they did it, and so forth. That's the part I don't think we need to waste a whole lot of time on. We kind of know what happened and the timeline that most of that happened. All right, I'm done.
Oh yeah, but in root cause failure analysis, and doing so, you find the timeline, and there's going to be a physical, human, and system cause. So the system's going to be address the procedures and the processes. Now the human, that may be where people might be finding themselves in the unemployment line. So depending on what the Board of Trustees decides to do to address that issue, if you need a replacement, if you have, or if it sounds like it's progressing to the point where they already have or have made a decision that Dr. Robinson, others have lost their trust and can't fulfill their responsibilities in their current roles. So that would be the human cause, and that would be the ramifications of that. So it's not a root cause failure analysis doesn't preclude repercussions of someone being removed from the position. It just gets all the facts in terms of who did what systems were in place, either an act of omission or commission that permitted it to happen, and then you take corrective actions from there, whether it's personnel moves and or structural improvements.
You heard the professor. Talk your talk.
And you can't do all that with all, a whole bunch of social media, fire everybody and all that stuff. You can't do that, because then that's the short-term solution. That's the easy solution.
Right. I'm on the side of Marcus. We do need that independence. And trust me, I'm not one to say we need to throw money away on something where we already know probably at least 50% of what happened. But we need this independent investigation for a couple of reasons. A, trust. Although Dr. Robinson has finally admitted what his role in it, Dr. Friday Stroud has resigned. Dr. Robinson is only telling so much. He's only saying, I was complicit on this. This independent investigator may go through and find out he was a lot more complicit than we even thinking right now. And the reason you need that independent investigator is for trust. I can't trust anything that comes out of his mouth, even with the admission. I can't trust that admission, because I still feel like something else is being left out, although you admitted your part. That's why I need the independence. And if the independence says everything that we already know, cool. He actually told the truth. I'm cool with that. Now, there's going to be other ramifications for it. I'm not saying that that's forgivable, but the fact that we need to know that. I am expecting real soon to hear those three dreaded words when it comes to business in this type of situation: paid administrative leave. How many people will have that coming after their name real soon? We've seen Dr. Friday Stroud has fell on the sword already. Dr. Robinson has admitted maybe he's trying not to throw anybody else under the bus, so he's trying to be the deflection and taking in everything else. How many more people out there, other than what we've already been able to discover, are complicit in this, either intentionally or unintentionally complicit? And we've talked about everybody who was not included in the conversation. And maybe I missed it because by the time I caught on to this story, we was already in the questioning, this stuff don't sound right portion of it. So maybe I missed it because I was busy on graduation Saturday. I was covering the SIAC baseball championship. So I really did not have a chance to get into this until late Sunday night, really on Monday. Did anybody include marketing in this? Because usually when you have an announcement of this level, of this magnitude, it's usually included with the press release, with all the details and everything. You may see a nice big social media graphic and everything else. And y'all may have saw that because, like I say, I was late coming to it because I was working another event. So was marketing included at this at any time? Because anybody who does public relations, marketing, anything else, would have, if they would have went and tried to find a picture of this guy to put as part of the graphic, that would have raised some red flags in the marketing department. and would have been like, okay, we need to fix this before we put this out and everything, or get that statement. There's certain things we work. I'm not formally trained in marketing and public relations, but I have been doing it for a while. There's just certain things, if I would have been the one having to put out the press release, having to put out the social media graphics, having to put out the pictures, no offense to Vaughn, but Vaughn should have been there because he's national media. But what were my people at to handle this stuff also, Vaughn? Am I asking too many questions right now? Everybody, somebody just help me out.
You asking a $237 million question.
No, obviously the right questions were not asked in advance of this big release. And I agree with you. I literally found out 5 minutes before commencement. They came in the media room and told us, hey, there's going to be a big check presentation done. Be on the right side on the front row so you can get a good shot of it. That's how we were informed. So no, there was not a release. There was
no press release. No. And the reason I'm saying that, because honestly, the first time that I saw something about this was via HBCU game day, which that should not have been the first time that I saw that. I should have saw something from FAMU first, and then, or if with the HBCU game day, I should have been able to go back and reference something from FAMU. You understand what I'm getting at? And then the first time that I saw something from FAMU was the double down statement, as I call it.
We do have FAMU monopoly now. I got game board somewhere around here. I started to pull it out, man. Put my stock on. I got some stock. I'ma give shit.
Just like Crossman said, what's disappointing is for people that are not FAMUans, some not even Tallahasseans, some not my race, calling to find out what the hell, and
what the hell was y'all thinking?
It's very tough to continue to explain that to people when it doesn't make any sense. The more you explain it, the less it makes sense at all. Because the first question is, so y'all didn't Google this guy? That's it. Always comes back to that. You didn't Google this guy. Well, guess what? Everybody else did. And some of the stuff I've seen, literally, I literally had my jaw drop on the table when I saw a post from this guy in his room. Looked like an apartment, and there was no door knob. There was no door handle. It was a circle where the doorknob was. And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I mean, literally. So
that's what you call an open door policy.
But the sad thing is, just yesterday, I also work with Reverend R.B. Holmes with Live Communications, and I help them at their radio station. So Reverend Holmes said, "Vaughn, I need your help. I need this guy to come on because he was the first guy to throw up the red flag about this Jerami guy." So I go to Twitter and Facebook, and I find the guy on Facebook. Before I contacted him, I went through his Facebook page, and this guy has his articles, his published articles. He's copied where he's been with the Griot and HBCUs, all of these legitimate articles. I'm like, yeah, this is the guy. All of 10 minutes, I was able to call. I messaged the guy. He messaged right back. Everything's on the up and up. I connect him with Reverend Holmes, and I'm feeling good because in 10 minutes, he has shown me who he is. In 10 minutes. And we dealt with this guy for 6 months or whatever, and nobody checked the social media for these things that we're seeing come out now. That's what's disappointing. That if anything disappoints me, it's that, because no matter what he says, what you see and what's presented there can give you a real picture of what's going on.
Vaughn, from
And
the FAMU Foundation meeting, and this will make it even worse.
Yeah.
Is that it sounds like Dr. Friday Stroud said they did the same background check that was done, by others, whether it's FAMUans on Saturday afternoon or the gentleman who published the article and has been on TV shows. They did the same thing, but yet proceeded going forward. That's the misstep. They found the implication. She didn't go in details, but when she was pressed during the FAMU Foundation meeting on Monday, she said, we found the same information that is now being shown on social media, and we decided to continue forward anyway.
Can't trust it. Can't trust it. That's what she said, but can't trust it. Trust is gone. You don't get that benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. And Vaughn, we just had a devastating tornado hit our campus, and we should be talking about what you did by sending your drone up, taking footage of the, of all the damage, and we should be rallying to figure out how to help rebuild some of our facilities and how to, we should be talking about, do we make that decision? Do we still donate to the cooling station, or do we donate to fixing the softball field, for instance? We should be on here debating those type of decisions versus talking about this garbage. That's what disappoints me more than any damn thing.
Listen.
We don't need it. We don't need that. We don't need the $15 million from Blueprint. We don't need none of it because we got $237 million.
Speaking of going to campus, facilities called me because they needed some things for insurance reasons for FAMU so that they could expedite. So I went to campus to drone, under their direction. To talk about the severity and why we aren't even talking about it, you are absolutely right. I came in from the west side, from Lake Bradford Road, from Wells Street. I literally had to end up getting back on FAMU Way and coming up Railroad Avenue because every street I went up, there was a tree that fell down that was on a line.
Yeah.
When I try to get to Bragg Stadium, I guess you maybe were not able to see.
Perry Street.
Perry Street was blocked. There must have been 20 trees down along Perry Street. So I couldn't even get to the entrance of the stadium from that side. When I finally got around, that campus it's devastating. We're used to hurricanes, not tornadoes. And to see the Banneker building, it has as its foundation below the regular tiles was like concrete tiles. All of those concrete tiles are on the ground now. Every single one of them. In the tech building, the sunroom, the windows were literally shattered. Air conditioning units off of Banneker building are on the ground. Grand Ballroom was scary just the same. You could be in the Grand Ballroom and look up and see the sun. Its roof got ripped off. The front facade of the Cass building is damaged. Part of the front facade of it was scary. I grew up on Young Street. You know where the architecture building is? That's Young Street that goes down there. So I grew up a block from campus. So the campus was my playground when I grew up. I knew every inch of that campus. To see it in that condition really went to my heart. It really did. It's in bad shape. Even tiles off of Lee Hall, which just got the roof done. This is how devastating this tornado was. And we really should be talking about that and the recovery from that. We really should. It's almost like a side note, but this is a big deal.
Yeah.
The recovery for this is going to be a big deal. Summer school had to go remote. I don't know when they're going to get back on there because there are so many power lines Adam Street. Did y'all happen to see Adam Street?
I was down there. I was down in Tallahassee on Monday, and I just decided to ride through campus to see it for myself, Vaughn. So
you know
what you're talking about.
Well, Palmetto is, and you have that black gate going all the way down by the FAMU clubhouse.
Yes.
That whole thing is laying on its side, and every pole by it was laying in the street when I went. Every
like
single
dominoes.
one. So tomorrow I will do what I should have been doing and do a more comprehensive report, because I drone for the university, so I won't use those images, but I went back and drone for myself, which I will present that presentation. It's just so many other things with this going on that I just have not had a chance to do it. But people need to see it so they can understand. When I go see the light pole from Bragg Stadium in Shauna Barber Section P, right behind Shauna Barber Section and Kelvin Section, it's down. It's bent in half. This was a devastating and deadly tornado that came through FAMU's campus, and we aren't talking about it. And it should be first and foremost. This is the whole reason I'm saying I can't make it disappear. I can't make that donation thing disappear. But Lord knows, I wish I could make it go away as quickly as possible, because we got money to raise for the cooling station. We got money to raise for nutrition. We got to help with summer school. We got to start what we had planned to do, the 220 Quarterback Club, in partnership with some other groups, is to get our NIL house in order with a collective, to work with the people. We got DeLon Turner. We have a young lady named Ashley who's very sharp.
Yep.
Ashley is brilliant. That young lady is like, I think she needs to be our lead. I'm just going to say that personally.
Well, she's been on the show, and she's coming back on. She's been on the show twice in the last month.
I think she needs to be our lead. At some point, we need to gravitate and support what she's doing. But we also have DeLon Turner. And DeLon is helping get kids signed all over, and he wants to help FAMU. So that's what the things that we really should be concentrating on, so that we don't lose kids and we're not a revolving door. Some of these kids, and this is what a lot of us, I want to take this opportunity to, if nothing else I say today, please take this. These kids are not looking for deals like Shadua Sanders and Travis Hunter have. These kids a lot of them just need a little money to make sure that the cost of living, they can have some money in their pockets. They aren't looking for these giant deals. And that's doable by us. In the short run, we've got to figure out how to get it bigger and get some corporations in there, yes. But in the short run, some of these kids just need cost of attendance help. And I think we can do that. But that's what we need to be concentrating on. But I just have a fear that these kind of things, when we go to try to raise money, and people don't have a positive image in their mind at that time when you go ask them.
Yep. Can't trust
it all get, though the 220 Quarterback Club money goes one stop in the bank, and then the next stop is wherever it's supposed to go. Even though everybody knows that's the reputation of the 220, there's never been about a question about a cent that didn't go where it was supposed to go in the 220 Quarterback Club. They only take on jobs that we can do, and there's an end to it. Okay, we're going to get a cooler station. We need to raise this $15,000, $16,000. Okay, we got that done. Close that. What next are we going to work in? Those are the kind of things we need to be working on. But instead, we're here explaining and making it more difficult for us to approach people to support the things that we're going to need moving forward to support.
Uniforms, helmets, Coach P, assistant coaches.
Somebody said non-football coaches' salaries. I absolutely agree. Listen, I mean, guys, just think about the coaches we have at FAMU right now.
Great coaches.
I mean, just everywhere. Coaches. We've got great coaches everywhere.
Championship coaches.
Every sport, we've got great coaches. We got to.
And with championship coaches, they're going to want their raises, and they're going to want, and their assistants going to want their raises.
They're going to want their bonuses.
And their bonuses.
But think about Mike Rice. he just wanted resources for his program. It wasn't it wasn't at all about his raise. He wanted money for his program. That is why he left for that short period of time. And then he came back, and what did he do? He dug right in after losing all of those top players in the country that he had, accumulated, and came back with a team and won a national championship going away. We have great coaches that don't have all the resources they need. Right. Camise is one of my favorite coaches. I think she's never in a bad mood. She's always great to talk to. She's done a great job of putting some of Wiggins' things, but her brand on it. She took the good that she could work with from Wiggins, and she's put Camise into the middle of it, and that mix is a great mix for our softball program. I have nothing but excitement about them. Track has done well. Golf has done well. Baseball. Coach Pressure in basketball. I just can't wait to see what she's doing. And I believe that Coach Crary,
Coach Pat.
I look at his resume, and I told him that day, I say, Coach, you know why I told him this the first day I met him. I say, you know why I like your resume? Because it reminds me of Gillespie. And the reason Gillespie was able to be successful is he knows how to work at a low resource institution. He knew how to do that. And Coach Pat, I believe, has that as well. The resume is so similar. So I got real high hopes that can be rebuilt. So the things we're supposed to be talking about and being excited about and getting everyone excited about and performing actions. Next Wednesday, we have to launch our campaign for the cooling station. I just don't know how this is going to affect well, we've got loyal people. We've got people that don't get dismayed. We need to increase that. Right. I think it's going to be difficult to increase the giving, but we have loyal people, loyal Rattlers that's going to give no matter what, that believe in their heart. If it had not been for FAMU, they wouldn't be where they were.
Well, you know where it's going to hurt the most, unfortunately, those where we need the most help at, right? The corporate level. Now, when you go into those corporate donors and those folks who can give $1 million+, you got this stigma behind you where they looking, can I trust you? You can't even vet.
Stigma? What is stigma, Kelvin? What trust has been lost from a corporate standpoint?
If I got to explain that, Bryan, then we lost. I'm not going, no disrespect, but I'm not going to even try to answer that.
Okay.
If you don't know what it is, then why do we have this show? What are we talking about for the last hour? But you haven't
go ahead.
But you haven't gave your input, so give your input.
I look. The only thing here's how I'm going to explain this, because my dad asked me about this, and here's how I explained it to him. I said, Dad, I said, if you told me that, son, I saw a ghost. Son, I saw a ghost, and I saw a ghost move an object from one side of the room to another. I'm going to do two things. I'm going to say, Dad, are you crazy? Or I'm going to choose to believe that my dad saw what he saw. So, and that's what I feel like this is. Because I keep coming back to, and I wrote some notes down, and I'm going to ask you, Vaughn, because you know Dr. Friday Stroud. She's and all that she has done and all that you have known her. And this is, I think, here's certain questions need to be, and maybe they've been asked and I just didn't hear them. I missed because obviously I'm doing other things and I'm trying to catch up in between. But do we even know all the individuals who signed the NDA? Has that been established? Do we know who all of the individuals are? I mean, we assume, and we can probably safely assume Dr. Robinson, Friday Stroud, probably the general counsel. Do we know anybody else? But I asked you, Vaughn, in all of the, I mean, do we, I see when we say we lack trust in the leadership, really what you're saying is you lack trust in Friday Stroud doing something different than what is normally done in the process of receiving gifts and donations. And I've had people explain to me that communicating all of these things to the Board of Trustees is not normal protocol. Now, I do understand, yes, this is a large donation. So with large donations, yes. Might you do something different? Sure. But if they tell me that they have vetted this 6 to 8 months, and I heard the number 8 months, I know a lot of people are saying 6. And she even said that she's had the same concerns and saw the same things. Are we saying that, well, yeah, some of y'all are, but people are saying that you don't trust that deeper conversations have been had. And so if deeper conversations have been had and everybody on the board and everybody wants to know who Jerami is, maybe those people in the NBA who signed the NBA have been told. Maybe they have done their research. They've done the vetting. She just said she's seen the same thing that y'all saw on Google.
And
but something else.
Brian,
Hold on a second.
You have to let somebody stand up there by themselves when you see something's wrong.
I'm standing here by myself. I don't care. I told you I'm standing on this hill and I'm gonna stand here. And I know I'm standing up here on myself, but just like I just gave the analogy, it's going to be one of two things. If my daddy told me he saw ghosts, I'm either going to choose to believe him or tell him he's insane, and I'm going to get ready to start moving him into a whole nother area of the retirement facility where he's staying at.
If you listen to the foundation board, what you asking was answered. I mean, they say they didn't vet it.
Okay.
They say they didn't vet it.
They didn't vet it to what degree?
Nobody called the Coastal Carolina or the previous places. Nobody.
Friday Stroud said she didn't call the.
Nobody tried to get a true valuation of what those stocks were. They admitted, Dr. Robinson and Friday specifically admitted they didn't vet it.
Okay, so. Even still, if the stocks are only worth pennies on the dollar, penny stocks, I keep coming back to, because people want to use the word scam, and I keep saying, do we understand what a scam is? Like, how has FAMU, has anything illegal happened to FAMU? Other than public relations, which is repairable, just as you've already stated.
But that's not illegal.
We've been through public relations scandals before and come out on top of it. I can't with you, Kelvin. Other than that, what has FAMU lost? Nothing in FAMU hasn't promised or spent money that wasn't there. And then I go back to what has Jerami gained? He's gained. I mean, what has he gained from this?
He's got more than his 15 minutes of fame. Good, bad, or ugly.
Okay. But again, I just come back to that's not illegal. So for me, is it a bad PR? Is it a bad look? And we've allowed outside people, like Vaughn just said, and you guys have all said, we've allowed outside people to tell us how this looks. When, again, I understand the board being upset, and I understand that. But the worst thing that happens, yes, the worst thing I think that happened was, yes, them choosing to make the announcement without going through all of the PR checks and balances. Bad decision. And so if Friday Stroud resigns, and that's why she resigned as VP of advancement, falling on the sword, I get it.
What about the 15 million?
Huh?
What about the 15 million?
The blueprint money?
Yeah.
We were already told we weren't getting that money.
No, what they said was right. They wasn't funding it out of blueprint, but they sent it to the Office of Economic Vitality, which is a sister program to find the funding. And we went back and told them on Monday that we don't need it. Why would you do that? Even if you had the money, why would you do that? That makes no damn sense at all.
I mean, but see, those are the questions that I'm saying we need to be asking. And I don't think I agree with you. We don't need a third party for that. You don't need a third party for that. Those questions can be asked. And I don't know if by public law you have to do that in public. I don't know if that can be a closed door meeting with the Board of Trustees, Robinson, Friday Stroud, General Counsel. I don't know Florida law well enough to say that can happen.
Well, if more than one trustee is in there, it has to be a public meeting. That's part of the Sunshine Law.
So they would have to have individual trustee meetings if they wanted to keep it private.
And so that is what Trustee Harper alluded to. So in one letter she wrote, individual meetings with each trustee. And I think that's, I don't know if they're going to do that now that they voted to bring in a third party. I don't think they're going to do that. I think Trustee Perry advised them not to have two investigations. You can't have two investigations going on at the same time. Right. That would have been illegal and inappropriate. So
right.
I think what Trustee Harper initially requested is now on hold, and all will be going through the third party for verified data, because y'all keep saying it. There's no trust there right now between the Board of Trustees and administration. None.
Understandable too.
It was very, very clear today. There's no trust.
And as I said, we've chosen, or the people on the Board of Trustees have chosen this moment to want to be upset with Dr. Robinson. When we've been talking about the issues, the same issues that you brought up, in my opinion, there are much more egregious issues that have happened under Robinson's watch than this. And if this is the cherry on top of the cake, okay. But there have been other incidences, other things that we've addressed, that we've tried to call people's attention to. And so
but you know what, Bryan, just think about it. On the year that we were upset because our certifications of our athletes were not taken care of, we continued to rise in the charts. Funding continued to go up. So I think we might have probably second guessed ourselves, like, wait a minute, we worry about something that's not really, really important in the big scope of things, because the university continues to advance and go up. And then, it just continued, even whenever there was a situation as far as the university health. The university health continued to climb. This is why we kept getting glaring reviews for Dr. Robinson and bonuses, because the big part of his job was to continue to elevate the university. So, to be honest, without something like this that is made a big deal of, and you've continued to give this man glaring reviews, it's actually kind of hard to get rid of somebody unless you make something be, like Bryan say, bigger than it is.
Well, and Brian, also to the point you mentioned in terms of, and I said last week that, from a, I guess, a tangible standpoint, it would be a win-win if the money isn't there. We haven't given up anything, but if it is there, then we come out on the end. But the biggest thing is going to be a PR hit. But looking back at that statement, and it kind of seems like it echoes what you said a few minutes ago, there's some tangible and intangible losses. Now, from a tangible loss, have we lost money? No, this wasn't a Ponzi scheme where we put money in and, somebody promised us something and we put in. It wasn't like one of those emails you get, like, I'm an African prince and, you used to give me $1,000 so I can give you $1 million. But the intangible thing that was lost is trust between FAMU constituents and the administration, trust between the administration and the BOT, ramifications, wherever this falls out. We may be having another president, potentially. I don't know what the ramifications are going to be on Dr. Friday Stroud. She already resigned from one position where it seemed like she was wearing 3 hats. And so she's resigned one position. We don't know to what degree the domino effect is going to have on any of her other positions, depending on where the board goes or what other report, the final report, and potentially more trustees, depending on what happens there, because Trustee Harper, BOT chair, was involved near the end. She signed some paperwork. And so we may have a new BOT person. And I don't know if this is one of the ones that I've forgotten the structure, but I know the governor gets to appoint some. There's somebody else appoints some. Somehow. So it could be another issue there in terms of we have a whole slew of leadership from the university, the face of the university, the face of the premier program, one of the premier programs on campus, and the face of our board of trustees. So that's the intangible that could translate into a tangible impact based on this decision. So I'll admit that, last week, I've looked at it from a win-win in terms of the money. We're not giving up anything and we potentially earn it. But thinking about it now, there's some ramifications in terms of stability at key positions that could be part of the fallout from this decision.
And I'll just add real quick that there's a certain way you have to transfer stocks and how the whole process work. And I have no confidence that every I was dotted, T would cross. So there could be other liabilities that have been assumed by the university. So it is not a no harm, no foul situation. We don't know that yet.
Marcus, you hit the nail on the head with that one, because you are right. This could change the actual face of the university. One of the premier programs, the leadership, and the people over the financial structure. One reason FAMU has continued to climb in those rankings is because there were not the interims there. There were permanent people in the key places, where for years, for some reason, FAMU, we would just have a whole bunch of interims in a lot of the key places. And the last time that we got in trouble with SACs, that was one of the things that they cited. We had too many interims. And it's just like today really brought it into view. After the trustees meeting, there are some trustees that I know that I talk to directly. And this is why I say it was just not this. There was a lot more that this compounded in the discord between the administration and the trustees. But the reason I think it was not elevated before is just like I say. if they had elevated it before, it would sacrifice the growth of the university. Because part of your evaluation for being ranked are opinion polls from the students, alumni, faculty. And so any of these kind of things, like now, those polls, we're going to take a little hit in those polls of the public opinion. A lot of people don't know that part of those rankings is polling. It is from the students, faculty, select administrators. So when you say Pandora's box was open with this, it really is. It can have a domino effect that can be much farther than we think. And I thought like Bryan as well. What have we lost? I thought about that as well, just like Marcus said. But yeah, we really do have a lot at risk in this scenario.
And it opens that Pandora's box, as Marcus said, politics. I mean, the politics has always been there, but now you've given an avenue for someone to walk through that door, and that was self-inflicted. All right, so we got to think about all this when we're talking about transition and
I gotta say
leadership
this.
change.
I misspoke. I said the first half red flag was Jerome and Friday Strauss interaction on the stage. That wasn't my first half flag. The first flag was that 4th grade reading level speech that he gave.
Go into
That was it.
detail. Go into detail on that, Vaughn.
Have you seen his signature? Have you seen his signature? It's not.
Are we not going to address the mental or physical challenges of his youth while we're talking about his speech and his signature? Does that not account for anything?
I mean,
well, Bryan, we don't know to what degree that may be true.
Oh, so
that
now,
could be,
oh Lord have mercy. Okay,
we don't.
Okay. I'm gonna be quiet.
Bryan signed that thing.
I mean, all of us with all of our Rattler knowledge, and it even leaves us speechless for moments. I mean, if anybody believes and understands or agrees, it's these 5 right here. With all of us sitting pause, it's just really mind blowing when we get lost for words as we continue to think about it. It's all you almost get to the point of what are you gonna say?
Yeah,
because you just do not understand how we
take
got
the
here.
L. Yeah, just take the L on this one.
And that's the point I wanted to make, and the point I made today. PR 101. If you have a known mistake, the longer you skirt around fully admitting it and putting it on the table. Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky went on and on and on while he denied it. On and on and on while he denied it. On and on and on. As soon as he finally admitted it, y'all remember how fast it went away? It's almost instant. Ain't nothing to harp on. He already admitted he did that. So it's no fun or no interest in harping on something he already admitted. That's what FAMU needs to do now. If they hired anybody, it need to be a PR firm on how to handle a crisis, because we're not taking the correct steps. The first step is admit the error, apologize for it, and say we'll never do this again.
Well, didn't Dr. Robinson did that? Didn't Dr. Robinson do that today?
Today? How late? How long did this go on until we got that today?
10 days.
It's been
until you coming
days,
right in front of your bosses with no filter, right in front of your bosses. That's when we finally got it.
Hey. So can I ask this question,
Bryan? Some sorries don't hit the same, baby. I mean, sometimes flowers ain't enough.
And you gotta be like Kobe. You gotta buy a ring for Vanessa.
Sometimes it's over. It's over.
Wow. Hey, seriously, fellas, and Vaughn just triggered something in my mind. Okay, let's say we've done step one. We've made the apology. We've admitted our fault, which we have to an extent. How do we fix this? Because we've seen, and I'll just think of two things stick in my mind. Major companies coming back from crisis a hell of a lot worse than this. I think back to Tylenol, 1982, with the big Tylenol scandal, when the Tylenol was tainted and people died. And I also think back to Coca-Cola changing their formula around the same time. And there's probably people on this podcast who don't even know what I'm talking about when I mention these two. When I mention these two references,
I know what you're talking about.
I mean, we do because we were all youth during that time.
Yeah, I guess so.
But no, I'm saying there's probably people on this podcast who have no idea what I'm talking about. And correct me if I'm wrong, Coca-Cola is still like one of the top corporations in America, in the world. Excuse me. Tylenol is still the number one pain reliever in the world. So they can do it. What do we do at Florida A&M University so that we become Coke and Tylenol, for lack of simplicity?
And I just said it. And I double down. Coke said, we're sorry. We changed the formula and y'all don't like it. We're going back to the old Coke formula. They apologized, and it was a campaign. They listened to the people, and they went back to what the people liked, and Coke became the number one brand again.
And whoever came up with the idea about Coke, they got fired. That new Coke. That's what it was called, new Coke.
Yeah.
They ain't just
Bryan label on the side.
And to answer your question, Drew, or to add to it, I don't know if there's a quick short-term solution.
And that wasn't those weren't short-term.
No, those lingered for a while because
it took a couple of years for Coke to come back. It took a couple of years for Tylenol to come back. There's other companies that we could think of that it took them a couple of years for them to come back. But for us, we talking about somebody's education, and let's be real. FAMU runs on 4-year cycles. Education runs on 4-year cycles. So, how many 4-year cycles is this going to take for us to get this right?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I can't answer that question, but I would say first you got to figure out all the things that happen. It's easy to a certain degree. We know the face of the mistake that was made. Dr. Robinson, Dr. Friday Stroud, anybody who signed the NDA or whatever else. You got to figure out the processes, and you have to show and prove, and people will have to see that the processes are working and that changes have been made so that it doesn't so it prevents recurrence. So there's two things that would likely need to happen. Change in some of the leadership, depending on how much change the BOT is willing to do and how much they can stomach and how it can get managed so that we're not vulnerable. And then changing in the process or improving the processes to make sure that and other vulnerabilities are closed up. And then allowing, so I guess showing accountability and not availability, but showing that things have changed and allowing people to feel comfortable trusting again.
And to that point, Marcus, I will add one last thing. One change that was made and announced today was Donna Palm, who's the COO, whose name was not a part of either of this, thank goodness. Being named as the person who's going to be over the foundation for now. I have high respect for him. He's very professional. I think he's an ideal person for this kind of transition. And we actually may see some corporate sponsors get involved and get responded to with him in that position. So that to me was a really important move.
Now, my one question, Kelvin, is having him as COO and now I guess VP over advancement. Is that the role that he was named as interim?
Yes.
Does that put him maybe not in the same predicament with Dr. Friday Stroud wearing 3 hats, but in wearing 2 hats? Is that another
Well, 3 if you still count COO. Still wearing somebody wearing 3 hats.
It does. It does. Absolutely. But it's necessary at this time while we go through this transition. Somebody's got to lead that part of the university, and it's got to be somebody who has, what's that word again? Trust and accountability. So, you know, him coming out of the pharmacy program and so forth, and then leaving and being an administrator at Virginia State. I just think he's well suited for a transition period. It can't be 5 years.
Yes. And I see Melanie Wim's question. And she's saying the hats weren't the problem. She did fine for years under many hats. I would agree. I mean, I don't know, her performance reviews or anything like that. But the problem is, and I don't want to get into a whole root cause fair analysis because they'll do that, is that you don't have a check and balance. If you have the same person,
there's no separation of duties.
Yeah, if you have the same person with multiple roles, and one of those roles is supposed to be a check and balance to maybe ask the question, then you're kind of rolling it all into one, and you don't have that hopefully objective or a different perspective that may raise a question to prevent something like that. So when you have those combined roles, it's not the same as a conflict of interest, but my interpretation, just from looking at it from the outside looking in, having a VP in advancement, and then what was the other role? The board of the foundation chair or something like that.
Dean, and then Dean.
And then Dean. I mean, the deanship, I don't know if had any conflict, but between the foundation chair and the VP of advancement, I don't know what their roles exactly do. But if you have 2 different people in 2 different roles versus one person, then you potentially have a check and balance there that may have been missing in this particular instance. So it could have been one of the dominoes that fell that allowed this to happen, not through any malice on Dr. Friday Shroud's part. It's just that, if you have a check and balance, it's like having a judge and a senator, and the same thing. You don't want to have both because there's supposed to be a check and balance in our government system.
Yeah, but the deanship does play into what you were asking, Marcus, especially with the advancement piece, because advancement, their job is to raise money for the entire university. Part of a dean's job is to go out and get funding for their school, in this case, the School of Business. So how much more funds being shifted one way or the other because of the dual title, intentionally or unintentionally? Money that could have went to SBI was going to the General University. Money that was going to the General University could have been going to SBI. So I do want to push back on you saying the deanship didn't matter. It does matter because of the role, because they both have a fundraising element. Now, obviously, advancement, that's probably 80% of what advancement does, but there's a significant fundraising element as far as being a dean also. So yeah, there's some overlapping of duties and things because of that dual or triple role that she had.
It's a fair point.
All right, gentlemen. Good stuff. I guess I didn't hear of any other scheduled meetings. Are there any other scheduled meetings upcoming or things? What's that?
Yes, at the National Alumni Convention.
Right, I was going to say prior
in
to
Tampa.
that, a couple weeks
ago.
Yeah.
You have a meeting of the Board of Trustees, full board in person, who will be down there at the end of the month. Also, the foundation board will be down there. They have a full board meeting that week, which is the last week in May. So everybody will be in the same place at the same time at the end of May, and that's why I think you'll see a lot of action.
I don't.
Whatever follow up happens at that particular meeting.
I'd be surprised. I mean,
along with the National Alumni Association having their convention and meeting, which be a part of fundraising too. Don't forget, we got spring sports and some of the things that Vaughn pointed out that going to need funds and so forth. And the last thing I say about dual roles, triple roles, look at enrollment of certain programs. It's hard to be good at everything, right? You say it wasn't. She did well, but that's that's opinion, right? There are things you can look at that would say, hey, well, maybe if you wasn't spread so thin, this would have looked different. There's some metrics out there that you can look at and say, well, you hit this bucket, but you missed this bucket, and that's for all of us. That's not the person. One person can only do so much so well. Even scripture. Man can't serve two masters. It's difficult. It's challenging. So.
Well said. All right. So I don't. Okay. So I guess my final thought then, or final question: does anybody see anything happening between now and that alumni convention? Will there be more articles from more people saying how we've been bamboozled, led astray, all those other colloquialisms?
Don't know, but I hope not. But I hope it, as Vaughn been pointing at too, and the rest of us, I hope it'll go away. But the only way it's going to go away though is if we do the work, right? There's no shortcuts out of this, right? So the assessment that this third party is doing, also I'm hoping and trusting that this board of trustees specifically, are not just waiting on someone to give them a package, and that they're doing their due diligence and coming up with formulating a plan as to how they're going to deal with the president and any decision they make in regards to that position, because that's where really going to open up a can of worms. How we deal with this, right? And so we got to have a strategy moving forward. We got to have some candidates if any change is going to happen. Of course, we're gonna have to change some policies and procedures. And while we're doing this, that's why I say you separate the two, because one is more longer term than the other one. We're gonna look at DSOs and foundation period. We're gonna have to restructure those boards and restructure how people report to those boards. We're gonna have to do that work. And that might be a little bit more longer term than the discipline or personnel side of this thing.
And Kelvin, you touched on what I am curious about. In our policies and procedures for the foundation, where does this fit in? Is a gift of this magnitude even in there? I don't know the answer to that. I think some of the trustees alluded to that as well. Are there policies and procedures in there? Or if not, the Board of Trustees has two responsibilities. The first one is to develop policies for the university to be governed by, and the second one is to hire and fire the president. So if it's there, then that definitely goes to employees not following the procedures and policies. If it's not there, then that's been an oversight that this board needs to immediately enact a solid policy that follows standard protocols.
Can they do that though?
Huh?
Can they do that? Can they issue? Can they create a policy for the fundraising arm of the university?
Absolutely. That's the job of the Board of Trustees.
Yes.
That's one of their two jobs. The first one is to develop policy for the university. That's the number one thing.
Okay.
That's the number one thing for a Board of Trustees. And the second is to hire and fire the president.
Okay.
What they're not to do is to get into the day-to-day operations, which they backed away from doing today, which I was proud of, because we've had boards before that have tried to run the university from the board, and they stopped themselves short of that. But policy is 100% a function of the Board of Trustees. Okay. Those are their only two functions. Oversight. Their oversight is based on policies that they develop, implement, and enforce, and then to hire and fire the president, that one employee.
So it would sound like at issue is what you just said. Is there a policy that was overlooked, skipped, went around? And if there wasn't a policy,
create one so that it
There
doesn't
has to
happen
be one
again.
created in short order. Yeah.
right. But you can't, if there wasn't one created for this particular situation, you understand where I'm going here. If there wasn't one created, then
It's almost a gray area.
it is a gray area. That's
what I was saying earlier. But to that point, it may not matter based on the size of the donation. Maybe you have to have a consistent process. Either you have to have prorated, based on the level of donation, or you do the same thing for every donation, whether it's, say if it's above $5,000, 5,000 on up to 8 billion or whatever, quadrillion.
We've got to uncover those policies. Melanie says there are policies.
Hey, Brian, Brian, think of it like this: we're all children of the 70s, and you remember back in the 70s, you didn't have to wear your seatbelt in your car, but somebody went there and decided we need to make a seatbelt law, because back in the day, wasn't no seatbelt. It was Big Mama doing the arm like this to keep you from going out the window.
My daddy saved me from that dashboard.
Big Mama strong.
Exactly. I don't know how they did it, but they did it. Then they came up with a seatbelt policy, and then after the seatbelt policy was implemented, then they started writing tickets. Then they started pulling you over for not wearing your seatbelt. Where are we in that process when it comes to these donations?
It's a good analogy.
Excellent analogy.
Dare I ask the final question of the group here regarding Dr. Robinson?
Excuse me.
Given the fact that, if I'm not mistaken, we've already gone through the vote of no confidence thing as it relates to our athletic director. And if I'm not mistaken, in history of the university, a vote of no confidence was issued to a previous president. Could there be a situation where a vote of no confidence comes up at the National Alumni Association? And if so, should that come down on Dr. Robinson?
Can I answer that question with a question, Brian?
I will go around the horn. I'll start with you, Drew. Go.
Brian, you're a betting man. Give me the odds of a vote of no confidence coming from the National Alumni people. Give me the odds, because you and I talk odds all the time. What are you going? Plus 400? Plus 500?
I'm gonna go.
Oh no, we gonna go minus.
I'm going plus. I don't think there'll be one, but that's
you don't think
me.
one.
I don't think there'll be one.
I'm going on the minus side. I think there will be one.
Okay, Vaughn, what do you think?
Let's see, it's 2 weeks away. I'm concerned. First off, I'm concerned about the NAA meeting. Just, most people register, come down close to it, and with bad news, it's just not good. And I think that's one reason that Curtis Johnson came on today to try to salvage that with his message, which was very similar to mine.
Yep.
We as alumni, with our responsibility, we can't get consumed with this and forget what we're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
That was his message, and that was kind of my message as well. This isn't sitting well with a lot of people, and unfortunately, a lot of it is because when you wake up in the morning, where do you go for news? Most likely you go to social media, Twitter or Facebook, to see
Google
what somebody's posted that's quickly on the news. Then you might go to CNN or wherever you go for it. But you quickly kind of scan through social media. So as people scan through social media, it's just FAMU bash, FAMU bash, FAMU bash, FAMU bash. And that kind of gets into your mentality. So people do not feel good about the university. And probably with the admission today, they don't feel good about Dr. Robinson at the moment. So I got to go with the 50-50. I don't really know. I'm just being honest. I don't really know because in general terms, a lot of people like Dr. Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
As a person, Dr. Robinson is a likable guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I just don't know. I got to go. I know you want me to pick a side, but I got to say it's 50-50. I don't really know.
That's fair.
I can't gauge one way or the other.
That's fair. That's fair. I'm on the side of saying no, there won't be. Marcus, what do you say?
Minus 110 for me.
What did he say?
Drew said
Minus
it'll
110.
happen. Minus 110. Drew thinks it'll happen. Basically, is what he's saying. Marcus, what do you think?
I think it's 50-50, but I'm leaning to a side that it won't happen. But I wonder whether a vote of no confidence from the NAA is even needed. I mean, the board spoke today, and Clyde wasn't having it. And, it sounds like, this was his last straw. And the performance reviews thus far, I guess for Dr. Robinson, at least from the TDO articles, I don't dive deep into it, but he's still on the job and he's been getting raises because the university has been prospering from an overall standpoint. But if there are some issues that came to a head and it's shown itself in this particular incident, and they look back over the years of things that have come up, and some of the things Kelvin's mentioned in terms of personnel turnover and key positions, the compliance issue in the 2022 season, and other things like that, then the NAA vote of no confidence, or whether they even take a vote, might not even need to.
And again, I'm not calling that the NAA. I'm saying the Board of Trustees.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant the NAA vote.
No. I mean, I'm just talking about in
Well,
this
I mean,
climate of the fact that we had a vote of no confidence.
Well, do they have to do a vote of no confidence, or just say, hey, well, I don't know what the process is?
Oh, so I'm sorry. So you were referring to the Board of Trustees?
Right, because again, I was going back.
I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about it, the NAA convention. No, the Board of Trustees absolutely is livid right now. I would say the Board of Trustees is on the negative toward Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
From everything I heard.
I don't think the NAA
I thought you were talking about the National Alumni Association.
I'm just saying at that event, because the Board of Trustees meeting is happening the same area time as the national. It's not a part. I guess it's not. I don't know if you can technically say it's a part of it or it's happening at the same time. I don't know how you want to say that. I'm really referring to it coming from the Board of Trustees, and I guess
so from the Board of Trustees at that meeting.
Yes.
Okay, let me switch one more time. Now I got to fully understand. They're not going to do it until they get the information to really solidify their position. So if they order if they're ordering an investigation, why would you make any decision before you got the information from the investigation? I think they're going to wait till they got that in hand and use it as ammunition for whatever decision they're going to make. So the board won't do anything at the NAA convention. No, not at all. They're going to wait till they got information in hand from whoever they're hiring, that third party, and they're going to treat it like the gospel of whether they give grace to the administration
again
or execute them.
Mm-hmm. And now that I fully understand that, I agree with what Vaughn just said too.
Mm-hmm. And couple that with whatever comments or areas of improvement have been in past performance reviews, because Trustee Clyde made a pointed emphasis to bring that up. So I think whatever the investigation or root cause for analysis brings out, plus any red flags that happen to pop up or on his performance reviews, will actually be the swan song.
All right, Kelvin.
You remember last week I said that I didn't want anybody to have egg on their face. So let's just wait this thing out. I think on another platform I said some of this ain't gonna age well. Well, ain't nothing gonna get better between now and them 2 weeks from now. It's only gonna get worse. The more information that come out, it ain't gonna be in his favor. Anybody who makes a multi-million-dollar mistake and don't even inform your boss, you didn't have the respect to inform your bosses of such a thing before you did it, and then it came back. We understand in the real world. This is not my emotions. It's not me wishing anything one way or the other. But in the real world, you make this kind of mistake, you don't stay there. So I would think that the NAA don't want to take a no vote confidence, and I would think that the BOT would hope that Dr. Robinson would probably announce that he's gonna take a sabbatical at the end of his contract in December and move to a teaching role. That would be the best scenario for everybody involved, and he could announce that at that meeting. That's what I hope happens. If push comes to shove, if it becomes combative, then yes, I do believe that they will terminate him. And if forced, I do believe that eventually they won't do it at this, maybe not 2 weeks from now. But as this information gets out, and the other part, I'm saying this for a reason. This is just the stuff we know. There can be things we don't know. It may or may not even be related to this specific situation. So I think in totality, it would be in the best interest. My concern is, how do you maneuver? Because at some point, Dr. Robinson's leaving anyway, whether forced or not. So we need to have a transition and change management plan in place anyway. So that's my answer. We're having that meeting 2 weeks from now. I don't know. I doubt it, but it's possible.
Okay. Good stuff, guys. I hope everybody got a chance to get everything they wanted to say off their chest.
I do have a closing statement when we close out, though.
Oh, okay.
It's now the time.
I think so.
All right. I just want to first of all, I want to thank y'all for letting me come on here tonight. I originally thought I was going to be replacing Kelvin, but Kelvin was able to get power, so decided to come on here and be a fourth wheel. But I appreciate the other four of you gentlemen, because it is damn good to be able to have an intelligent conversation about such a serious issue with some true rattlers, as Hump used to say, some true rattlers, and for the conversation not to get ignorant, not to get ugly, and everybody to have facts to back up their opinions. We just not throwing stuff out there. So I want to say I really appreciate you guys for coming with it tonight. Everybody came with something tonight. Now, y'all can go listen to other people's podcasts. I done told y'all about listening to stuff that's not FAMU based, trying to get FAMU information. You better come listen to something that's FAMU based on this particular issue. You better listen to that man up there on the upper left-hand corner if you want some national news that's FAMU based. I'm warning y'all, don't feed into it. So, and last thing, everybody, we can't put this baby to bed yet, but we can send this baby to the room, because now we need to shift our attention to our recovery from this past weekend at Florida A&M. So let's put the baby in the room, and let's let the adults go out in the living room and pop on some Netflix and enjoy it and shift our efforts to the recovery of our university, in addition to the fundraising needs that we need just for the stuff that we already know that's out there, y'all. I'm off my soapbox.
Vaughn, Your final thoughts?
Yeah, I just want to. I'm so sick of this subject, so I want to just talk about something different, really, real quick. You know,
the baby in the room.
In my surveying of the campus, I did notice some things that are going to delay just a little bit the new 700-bed dorm. I mean, when I tell you that storm did damage, that once I'm able to compile all of the drone footage and the photos together, it'll hit home, because there are places that you remember that just don't look it just did not look right. But I'm a little concerned about the dorm progress, the new 700-bed dorm, because that area's got to be clean. They've got to get power over there, and so I think that's going to be delayed something. So those are more the things we need to be talking about. And the new signees, Coach Cozy and commits. Man, we didn't talk at all.
Well as players in the NFL.
Listen, I'm so happy for Terrell Jennings, because that guy transformed his body last year. The reason he got a 70-yard run is because he slimmed down and got faster. That's how he got that 70-yard run. He looked like an NFL running back last year. Terrell Jennings did. And I'm just going to say this. Out of all of our players that we sent up there, I really think he's going to be the most impactful out of this class that's going in. I really do. He might not have had all of the accolades and everything, but the way he transformed his body, and then the way he performed on his pro day, that's the reason he signed. So those are the kind of things I like talking about, and we all love talking about. But we have to do our due diligence. You know, AD, that's a great statement. I won't go on everybody's show that asked me to come on, because I don't want to get on. I'm not yelling with anybody. I don't have time for stupid conversations. You all bring something. I love the formula. You all four are different, but your recipe works. And it's what FAMUans need to hear, because you can't hear this anywhere else unless you get a group of FAMUans who understand the culture, the history, the goals, the characters within the stories about the university. If you can't have an intelligent conversation if you don't have that. So while I've kind of taken a sabbatical from social media because I don't want to see my university battered, I can't stand it. I can't stand the stupidity. It's beyond fun. It's hurtful. I think I responded within seconds when y'all asked me, was I available? I think it was within seconds. I was like, absolutely. Because there are things I need. This is almost therapy for me, because there are things I needed to get out as well as hear you all to understand I'm not by myself and feeling the way I feel, because we have so much in common on here. Well, you got 5 different personalities, but we all got that love for FAMU as the basis. So we can be hard on our own university when we have to, and we can love on them when we have to.
Thank you, Vaughn. Marcus, your thoughts?
Well, I kind of gave most of it during the previous, but we just got work to do, and we have to figure out how we can contribute. I think in this forum, and as Vaughn so eloquently stated, having us, different personalities, but have a common thread of wanting to see our university succeed, not only for the alumni, but for the students matriculating through, because it is about the university. It's not about us. It's not about ego. It's not about us pumping up a platform for our own edification, but for information out to those who have a similar mindset and a similar heartstrings for FAMU. So, and that's what it's about. And so, like Vaughn, and Vaughn, we don't have everybody on our program for that same reason. So we don't, there's select invitees that come on the program because we want to have good discussion, we're not afraid of having the hard discussion. We want to have good discussion that has fruit,
intelligence,
that has fruit and has and constructive. I guess the other closing comment is we'll get to the recruiting stuff, sometime soon. But I got my spreadsheet updated. I got the PowerPoints updated, so we can get to that. But we had a couple signees, and I even slapped together a couple charts to kind of show where we are. But we need some defensive linemen.
Yes.
Keep hearing.
But everything else, I think we're good. But it's coming. I mean, they're being.
Well, we got like 4. We do have about 4 that we've signed, not including what's returning. So it's not like the cupboard is bare, but that quality depth is what separated us last year, and is what's going to separate us again.
Yes. So we did have 2 verbal commits from defensive ends who are transfers in, and we have the one transfer Mantra Edwards.
David.
And we also have Clyde Pender. So we have two defensive verbal commitments at the more or less the tackle position. We got 2 more at the defensive end. And we have a couple of returnees as well. So we just need to get that quality depth. So it'll come. But I think we're doing okay. And just waiting with bated breath to see what we're doing on the men's and women's basketball side. And I'm going to keep track of softball and baseball, and it looks like baseball saw something for another player out of Chicago, but the high school AD didn't respond to my tweet. But we may have 2 players out of Chicago. One we've already talked about, and one need to get confirmed.
All right, good stuff, Marcus. Kelvin?
I just want to remind everybody that we still champions. So I ain't speaking to Rally Nation. I'm speaking to the haters. You can say what you want. You can crack all your jokes, but it ain't going to stop them L's from piling up on y'all. All right? Just understand, we still FAMU. We still brag different. And it ain't nothing going to change. We ain't got no shame to our game. So, and we ain't going to shut up neither. So, there it is. That's all I got to say.
Bam, goddamn you.
Hey, Kelvin, and we not going back to the MEAG.
We're not going back to the MEAG, right. Exactly. Not going back. Want to thank everybody for watching tonight's show. Do me a favor, please hit the thumbs up and the like button. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button, hit the like button on Facebook. You can always donate to the show via the Cash App or the Square QR code that you see there on the screen. If you're on the JBN YouTube page, you can also leave a super chat. We appreciate any and every bit helps us. We're making plans. We got some road trips that we're trying to make this year, trying to take the show on the road. We got games, a full 12-game schedule with many of home and road games. So we want to try to do some shows out on the road. We want to do some shows in Tallahassee. We want to do some meetups. I'm already looking at some, Kelvin, I'm already looking at some barbecue spots in Tampa and thinking we need to do a meetup at a barbecue spot in Tampa. I don't know if we're going to necessarily do our town hall, but damn it, we would do a town hall at a barbecue spot somewhere in Tampa. So we're fielding suggestions. If you got a barbecue spot that might enjoy having us promote their business and we do a Rattler meetup, let me know. Hit us up, ONGStrikeZone@gmail.com, or you can always send us a tweet and one of those ways. But we got the National Alumni Convention in a couple weeks, and we'd love to do something down in Tampa, Florida. So a busy time. We got to get ready for Atlanta next week as we invade Atlanta to go win us another baseball championship, and then we'll turn around and head to Tampa right down on 75 and take over Tampa Bay. So that's what's upcoming. If you're heading out to more Kittles this weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we need 1 win, at least 2 to guarantee the SWAC East #1 seed against Valley. 2. Yeah, magic number is 2. Don't sleep on Valley, so we need your support. Go out there, support the team. They still got to play ball. They still got to pitch well. They got to hit well. And so we're hoping we have a good weekend to get us ready and fine-tuned for the SWAC tournament in Atlanta. So again, I want to thank Coach Patterson, Coach P, for coming on earlier. Thank you, Vaughn, for coming in and joining us, and thank you, AD, for joining us as well.
Hey, Kelvin, you didn't get your spanking out today. You had the belt around your neck all day. You didn't give it out, man.
I'm not gonna pull out my bit right now. I thought the conversation didn't. I didn't. You know, I got a few jokes in here that I didn't want to do the bit. It was a good one too.
I got you. All right. Just want to make sure.
All right. So for everybody here, Kelvin and Marcus, I'm Bryan. Everybody be well. Rattlers, stay strong out there on those social media streets. Remember, you don't have to respond to everybody. You don't have to respond to everybody. I know it's tempting, but you don't have to. Resist the urge.
Hey, Bryan.
Yes.
You can come off the hill by yourself now.
With that said, I'll be the lone wolf for a few more days, maybe a few more weeks. I don't know. Be well. Things up. Strike again, Rattlers. And we'll see you on the other side. Peace out.